Hey, what's going on, guys? What's happening? How's everybody doing? Awesome. Okay, cool. We got people coming in now. What's going on, everyone? Sweet. Awesome. Okay. Just waiting for everyone to slowly come in and all that. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. How's everybody doing on your end? Can you guys hear me? Thank you. Can just trying to make sure the Okay, cool. Cool. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. So listen, guys, hopefully more people will come. If not, if anybody has any questions or anything, the reason why I didn't do and I didn't release an episode today was because of this. So I'm thinking moving forward, what I want to do on Saturdays, just because people are at home more often and they're more relaxed and stuff like that, I'm hoping I can actually do an episode live for you guys on Saturdays. No promises just yet, but that's the goal. But for now, if anybody's interested, I'll be checking the chat if anyone wants me to discuss anything specific. Let me see. A Box said, "You got anything cool to share?" I do, not right now, but I have quite a few videos that I'm going to be putting out in the next few days that talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff, and not just that, but like actual visuals too. I got a hold of footage of one UFO actually being chased by what seems to be F-16 fighter jets, and then all of a sudden it just shoots into the water. Some people on what's it called? On a boat filmed this. I also have footage of it's honestly thanks to you guys that I find a lot of this stuff. I have footage of an alleged TR-3B UFO in Afghanistan filmed by American soldiers shooting down what seems to be a terrorist base cell, and the way it shoots its weapons, it's insane. Like, it's ridiculously insane. It's in the sense that it's extremely quiet. It's not like any type of projectiles or missiles that we're used to, or firepower of any kind. I see people are asking if I can. Some people are asking, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" Some people are asking if I can set up donations. I don't think I have that set up. But if you guys would like, I have a PayPal if anyone's interested. But that's not even the point. I'm doing this just because I love you guys so much, and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So, any proof? Do I have any proof to show? Let me see here. Do I have any? Oh yeah, Crone. What's going on? All right, Chris, Mike, what's happening? Henrik. Nice. Okay. So yeah, if there's anything specific you guys want me to talk about, I'm pretty much just taking questions and all that stuff. So I'm just honestly, this is more of a test. And then starting like next Saturday, I'll have more and more information prepared. I just wanted to see how many people would come on, how many people would be interested before I didn't want to prepare something for, very few people to watch if people were busy and all that. Right. So the period is, can you play the T? Unfortunately, if I were to play the videos, I could, but the thing is that it would literally just be my phone showing you like this. So like, that's the only problem. Man-made wormholes by St. Clair. Have I done DMT? No, I actually haven't. At least not that I know of. But I would certainly be interested. It's just, for me, it's all about going in with the proper mindset. What do I think of NASA yesterday? Also, what's up, Dave? So good. Thank you. Okay, so what do I think of NASA? Here's the thing. A lot of people have asked me about, and yes, I'll talk about the Saturn time cube theory too, but a lot of people ask me about the NASA stuff. The thing with NASA is this. For the people at NASA that don't really know what's going on, I don't blame them when they get super excited. But at the same time, and I say this carefully, but in a lot of ways, the way that I see it is that I feel like it's kind of disrespectful to those who really understand what's going on, such as yourselves and myself, in the sense that, like, they're trying to say it's the most cutting edge technology. And I'm not trying to take that away from them. But if we look at what they seem to really have, this is just one small step to prepare us for some type of whatever, some type of justification to commercialize space and all that. So to be honest, maybe I'll disappoint some people, but I'm not really impressed by the whole NASA thing, to tell you the truth. I mean, we talk about it on the show. These things are going to slowly come. I mean, years ago, scientists said that it's improbable there would be life out there. All of a sudden, all these news articles are coming out saying it's statistically likely there's life out there. I mean, clearly it's part of a larger agenda, right? Adrenochrome video coming soon. Sure. Yeah. So, okay, that's one of the things I can't talk about publicly. That's the other thing. Did I see? I do already have. I am discussing that already in the members only. And honestly, guys, like that's not even me trying to monetize or anything like that. It's just because there's certain things that YouTube would take down my video immediately. So I don't want to put all the work into editing a public YouTube video, and then they contact me and they say they got to take it down. That's the only problem. Did I see the Greenland Mars video? And sorry, you should be asking Joe Rogan. Did I see the Greenland Mars video? I don't know, Jenny, what you're talking about specifically, but I'd be interested to see. Let me see. John Doe says, are the transvestigations a real thing? All of those top name celebs are supposedly transformers. Okay, the thing with celebrities, and I get this a lot, is I don't think every celebrity is in on it, so to speak. And when I say in on it, I mean, like, I don't think they all have access to things. I don't think it's as simple as you become famous, you make some money, and then you jump and you're involved in the club, so to speak. I think you have to have deeper connections. A perfect example would be for those within the industry that are much more influential, like I think his name's Jeffrey Katzenberg, I think. Also, like Harvey Weinstein. Those guys would more than likely know things. I don't think that just because you become rich and famous, you get, access to special stuff. Like, the money gives you access, but I don't think all the time that's legit. Let me see. Space cruises are the next thing. Grand DP4 space cruise. Yeah, no, exactly. But the thing is, too, I'm interested to see what the UFO situation is going to be like with the space cruises and all that, because apparently with all the sightings and stuff like that, I mean, how could you jump up into space through some type of elevator or in a rocket or a capsule that takes you on a quick tour, then brings you back down without somebody spotting a UFO? For me, it's as simple as that. Let me see. Someone else asked, what are your thoughts on Seti? It's interesting. The thing with Seti is, like, it's a little bit controversial, and it depends on how far down, like, the metaphorical rabbit hole you want to go with Seti. I think that, or SETI, I think that ultimately, just like with anything, there's a double standard ultimately. Let me see. Is DMT is a false light. The Archons want your soul. What about HARP and DARPA weather manipulation? Okay. DMT, I don't want to speak on it mainly because I've never done it, to be honest. But HARP and DARPA, look, DARPA self-explained. It's in the name. I mean, they're not going to talk about half the crap they're doing. HARP is very interesting because HARP, it seems like they're so secretive. And when you have Russia and the UN and the European Union all three talking about how they have serious concerns for HARP, I think there's definitely something going on there. I mean, Fidel Castro, years ago, back in the 60s, accused the United States of weather manipulation. I don't think that's anything new per se. The question is, to what extent can they control that weather, right? Someone else goes, you're the real deal, better than... Oh, thank you. Hey, what's going on, Joseph? What's happening? Let's see. Do you think Hollow Earth truly exists, and could the Antarctic ice walls exist? The ice walls, I don't know. Hollow Earth, I'm like 70% sure there's a Hollow Earth. You look like Seth Rogen if you had... Thanks. Let me see. Mars, Greenland, NASA vehicle spotted there on Google Maps, same landscape. Look, it's very possible. If you look at the former Israeli space minister saying that there's already humans working with specifically the tall whites or the Nordics in an underground base in Mars, that'll be interesting to see if Mars eventually over the years becomes colonized and stuff like that. On a commercial public level, it'll be interesting. What do you think about the NOAA associate coming out about hexagonal living space for alien? I don't think that the whistleblower who said that, I think this was Grand DP44 who asked this. I don't think they have anything to gain by coming out and saying these things other than risking a lot of their credibility. I certainly wouldn't rule it out. You look at all the cover-ups underwater, whether it's animals that are supposed to be allegedly like 3-4 times larger than the the Empire State Building, or you look at UFO crashes that seem to be covered up underwater. Bones McCoy says, "Hey everyone, cool. Thank you." Samuel, thanks. Let me see. UFO and alien presence will be the top story worldwide before April. I hope so. I mean, it seems like there's not going to be one big disclosure, but I certainly hope so. Stretching your spine out 33 vertebrae kundalini will make your life more enlightening. I guess, yeah. Atlantis froze under the ice in Antarctica. The thing with Atlantis, guys, is there's so much disinformation that unfortunately, at least for now, I can't really say much on that because I don't want to say stuff that I don't know to be at least, substantial. Not saying that we have to have proof, but evidence. And that's the other thing. There's a difference between evidence and proof, right? Evidence means that you have a probable cause to suggest certain things. Proof means like, no, it's right there in front of you, right? But I do want to say Antarctica, I think, is something very, very interesting. Whether or not that was Atlantis, I don't know. How much do you know about Agartha? I'd say a fair amount. I would certainly say there's more people out there that know more than I do. But I'd say a fair amount. It'd be awesome if you end up on the Joe Rogan. Hey, if you guys can help me get that, Joe Rogan, all those guys, Tim Pool, anyone who's willing to have me on, if you guys could help me out with that, it would certainly help me, right? Because I've tried messaging those guys, right? And I know people that know them, but I'm not going to exploit my relationship with some of those guys just to get in with, you know what I mean? If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, great. Can you explain more about the Andromeda Council? Sure. If you can be more specific, good commenter, tell me specifically what you'd like to know about the Andromeda Council. I mean, the thing is like the Andromeda Council is sort of like Antarctica is sort of like the United Nations, the Antarctic Treaty, and the European Union. It's almost like they influence one another, but it sort of depends. If we scale it down, it's like there are some aspects that are more powerful and strategical than others, whereas there are other things that are a little more pervasive and easier to get done. And so the Andromeda Council is essentially a council that seems to be either directly in correspondence with the Galactic Federation or something a little bit different. But it seems like the Galactic Federation is something that humans, at least world governments on Earth, tend to take more seriously than the Andromeda Council. And in terms of what races are part of which, unfortunately, that's what I'm still trying to sift through right now, because there's so much disinformation regarding, the Blue Avians, the Nordics, the Reptilians, as to which one is part of which. I don't want to sit here and tell you guys I know for a fact, right? What about alien life recently found in Antarctica? Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so they found alien life, I think, don't quote me on this, it's like 3,000 feet or meters, something like that. I forgot which unit of measurement underneath Antarctica when they thought it was impossible. I think what happens here, this is a perfect example of the disk theory, distributed idea suppression complex, where those in the intelligence community, specific in certain factions, and the military industrial complex, as well as certain elites, not all of them, but certain elites, they drop feed information to fund studies that allow technology to suddenly, the technology that wasn't available 2-3 years ago, to suddenly reach deeper and deeper down into Antarctica to realize, oh, we have life. So to answer your question, I think it's a form of saying, listen, there's more life out there than we thought. And I think that has to do with the overall space agenda. Like I said before, they said that there weren't too many, or there wasn't life out there, or they hadn't found any signs. Now all of a sudden there's tons of possible signs, right? But they use the word possible to make sure that they're covering their asses in case, right? Chris goes, one small step for man, one giant leap for CGI. For CGI, yeah. Joseph goes, I took samples of the snow, hard evidence. Yeah, exactly. That's what you'd want to do to find evidence that will lead to proof. Mars and Ceres already colonized? I would say so. Shadow J said, "What do you think about the apparent humanoids deep in the?" Oof, geez, sorry, I just missed. Let me see. Deep in the ocean and the deleted NOAA report via Reddit that describes them and how they apparently killed some Russians for getting too close. You honestly want to know the true? My humble opinion, Shadow. Yeah, I'm like 80 to 90% sure that something like that's happened. And one thing I got to give to Russia in a lot of ways is they're not like the US in terms of covering things up. They don't look for specific, diddly daddly words to use and excuses. Russia just goes, F you, it's classified, that's it. And that tells me more than enough. And I would dare to say the fact that a lot of studies for underwater in the ocean that get funded has small funding, and then all of a sudden it gets scrapped, tells you that it clearly there's something down there that they don't want us to know about. Now it's like, okay, people say, when you say they, who do you mean? A few different factions, intelligence, certain aspects of intelligence at the highest level, certain aspects of very limited military. Because guys, remember, and this is no disrespect to any military or any military service, but the military is generally leak prone, which is why a lot of people say, Dave, when these Air Force guys, why would they be chasing a UFO if they know about it? They don't. These pilots don't. They're told either to pursue it or to ignore it. So next thing is look up Tony Rodriguez, Secret Space Program 20 and back. Absolutely. Atlantis is everywhere. That's the thing with Atlantis being everywhere. It's a possibility. I mean, over time, in terms of, certain things splitting up and all that. Joseph Gonzalez. Yeah, right. Exactly, brother. Proof. Exactly. Love your show. Maybe in the future you can touch the Saturn cult and the negative energy from Saturn and the positive energy from Jupiter. Yeah, so I don't want to talk about things that I don't know for certain. What I do know is that there seems to be something with Saturn energetically, not necessarily spiritually, but energetically, that tends to fuel a lot of, I guess we could say, religious or spiritual. I don't want to use the word cults, but very committed groups. Some of them a little looser than others. A lot of it seems to be influenced in many different major religions without us even knowing. So yeah, that's the farthest I'll say right now. I am tonight. I'm reading a full-on document and a dissertation on the Saturn cube and all that. That would be awesome. This channel, I'm surprised, doesn't have a lot more views. Thank you. I appreciate that. Seems like Atlantis stretched across the Atlantic. Just noticed how close those words are. Right. It's very possible. Don't ever sell out, please. I don't plan to by any stretch. So thank you. I'm trying to astral project to Atlantis to gather information. Okay, so astral projection is interesting. A lot of people have a lot of different perspectives on that. I've astral projected before, not as strongly as others have. A lot of you guys, I think, have lasted longer than I have and stuff like that in terms of astral projecting. Some people say it's okay for you, others don't, so it's interesting. The human soul is an immortal batter, or spelling wise. Sorry, Bones, not sure what you meant there. Angel says the human soul is an immortal battery. I'd certainly like to think so. That would make a lot of sense. Thank you for breaking down this. Have you investigated the subject and its relation? Because this is the reason for the confusion. So, Ahmad, hopefully I said your name correctly. First off, thanks for watching. And I am looking into it as we speak, actually. Chris goes Saturn with his hexagon at the North Pole. Yep. Let me see here. Would you go on a live stream with Zachary K. Hubbard from Gematria Effect News to expose the conspiracy of secret societies, Society of Jesus and the Freemasons with the Gregorian calendar? I do an interview conversation with anybody. Do you know anything about the Roman black nobility? Roman black nobility. I don't. I've heard it before. Here's the thing, guys, and please forgive me for this. I sift through, and I'm not even trying to brag because this is not even anything to brag about, but I sift through so much information on a daily basis that most of it sticks in my mind. A lot of it doesn't. So forgive me if I have a bit of a brain fart sometimes. Henrik goes, a lot of strange stuff in Antarctica. It was a tropical place once a tropical place like the Amazon. I think so. I'd like to think so. Something's very fishy there. Again, the Antarctic Treaty, one of the few treaties where very quickly and very strongly a lot of countries came together and said, okay, don't worry about it. We're not going to touch it. And if any of us go there, we got to let everyone know, right? My Phil asks me my favorite conspiracy theory. Oof. My favorite one, I would dare to say the probably the harvesting of the adrenochrome souls by Carla Turner. Probably, but I'd have to. If you gave me like a list, I'm not asking you to, Phil. I'm just saying if you gave me a list, I got a better idea. I'd probably know better. Greetings from Kuwait. Oh, thank you so much. You're in Kuwait. That's great. I hear nothing but great things. Where here we? I don't care if it's CGI or not. It's all cool. Fair enough. Can you make a video on Noah's Ark? Absolutely, absolutely. We only know 5 to 15% of what's in the ocean. Exactly, exactly. Talk about hollow Earth theory. So the thing with hollow Earth that turns a lot of people off, not me talking about it, but just in general, is that with the hollow Earth, automatically people think of the Nazis and Hitler going there and things like that. Look, the Nazis discovering it, or Admiral Byrd's journal, where he was told to keep quiet and all that. This is what I mean by evidence versus proof. How much, and I'm not saying it's true. I'm actually asking, and I ask this question legitimately, and I put it out to the world. How much evidence do we really need? Like, is it going to come to the point where we need to wait for the government to tell us? Kind of like the Majestic 12 documents. All of a sudden, the FBI says, literally, if you look up, just type in Majestic 12 documents on Google and go to Google Images. One of the first pictures you're going to find, if I'm not mistaken, is an MJ12 document that looks real, right? And the FBI writes with a black marker bogus. And there's some articles, obviously not mainstream articles, but some articles that talk about how just because the FBI writes bogus on a document, all of a sudden makes it BS, right? And that's what we have to, that's the thing with Hollow Earth. Like, how much do we know is legitimate, and like, who are we waiting for to confirm that to us, right? And so I think ultimately there's multiple species that have lived underground for a long time. I could be totally wrong, but again, I'll tell you guys when it's my opinion and when I base it off of the actual research. 8th or 18th of July, aliens are coming. Did you hear this? Does that have to do with the disclosure on the COVID relief bill? Oli G asked that. Mike goes, there's so much under us. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Good commenter goes, are Milky Way aliens part of Galactic Federation, or can they be in Andromeda Council? Because I assume aliens from Andromeda Galaxy are only in Council. Well, it's interesting because the thing is, good commenter, I think that's your username, yeah. The thing is with that is it's almost like there's different factions, very similar to that of how there's different factions with different public and hidden agendas in the UN. So it's kind of like defining what's good and bad. Like, I mean, certain species seem to be self-serving, and we can question whether or not that's good or bad if a species is self-serving. But if they're only interested in themselves, which the reptilians allegedly are, most of them, then honestly, I don't see why they would be part of the Galactic Federation. And I think it also comes down to technological power and spiritual power too, right? Oli goes, we'll find out in July. Well, here's the thing. One more thing about the Andromedan and the Galactic Federation. It seems like the Andromeda Council is more distant from humans, whereas the Galactic Federation is much more intimate and hands-on in the sense of being able to interact with political affairs in human interactions and relations. It seems like the Galactic Federation, which seems to be headed, or if not headed, then have a strong power structure from the Nordics, the tall whites. They seem to basically say here, listen, if everything goes to shit, pardon my English, then we're going to step in. But we're talking if everything really goes to hell. And it seems like they're respecting the fact that even though humans are destroying the planet, not just climate-wise or what have you, because that's a different story, but in terms of just fighting one another, they're leaving us alone out of the respect. And the way I see it, guys, honestly, is when people say, well, how come, if aliens are all like, how could they be all good and this and that? Or if aliens existed, they would have hurt us by now. The way I see it is this: if you're an extremely intelligent race, you're going to another planet to study and things like this, you're not going to do it in the way of, and I could be wrong, but you're not going to do it in the way of, in what's that Tom Cruise movie, The War of the Worlds, I think it's called. You're not going to come down guns blazing and everything. You're going to slowly but surely pick off the things that interest you, and you're going to do it very subtly, right? And that seems to be what's been happening. And recently, I don't know specifically, but there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of kids that go missing every year. The 411 reports and child sex trafficking is part of that. But I do want to say as well that a lot of it goes uncounted for when kids go missing in forests, national forests, having to do or that are allegedly above underground military bases. Are humans abducting them? Are aliens? It's hard to say. Are both? Right? That's ultimately the question. Um, Eugenio, hopefully I said your name right. Sorry, I just got to scroll back up here. Eugenio says, if the soldiers wanted to travel back to the ancient Greek times, could they? When you say, Eugenio, when you say soldiers, what do you mean specifically by soldiers? I think those in the secret space program with that type of access would be able to. There would need to be a very good reason. I'd like to think there's actually, believe it or not, time travel police in a certain way. I know that sounds really silly, but again, this is part of the psychological aspect of it, right? You kind of put it in everyone's face, sort of like in what's that Netflix, The Umbrella Academy? How there's the time travel police. As ridiculous as it sounds, the more and more technology we find out to be potentially legitimate, the more we realize that this isn't really that unrealistic, right? Michael goes, beards looking nice. Thank you. Angel goes, I have astral projected, an evil spirit just followed me and messed up my vibes, life force. Yeah, I believe it. Ahmad says, how about the AI and its involvements in creating deepfakes in social media causes psyops depend on it to attack targeted individuals as gang stalkers and black magic practitioners. So the problem is that a lot of people think, and this is something I don't like to say, a lot of people think that with social media, more UFO sightings are going to be filmed and the truth is going to be out there and stuff like that. I could not agree more. However, it also creates the space for government agencies or, what have you name it, to create a bunch of deep fake disinformation. So you mix in, you take legitimate footage and you mix in a little bit of deep fake in it. And when someone looks at the metadata, they look and they say, my God, this is fake. What a bunch of BS, right? And so I think that's the problem we have too, right? And I always say this: we have to be very vigilant of the footage that we analyze, right? Especially in the Patreon members only. Wes says, "Thanks for the production, your eloquence, and your thirst." Thank you. So, no, I appreciate it, Wes. If it wasn't for you guys, then I wouldn't be here doing this. Ryan asks, which religion do you think is closest to the truth? This is I appreciate the question, Ryan, brother. I thank you for that. This is interesting because I would dare to say, actually, if you could just give me a second, I have a theory on certain branches of or certain aspects of religion. Let me see here. Okay. So here's the thing, and this is what's interesting, and this goes more into the paranormal side, but Ryan, thank you for asking. When it comes to which religion is closer to the truth, I'm only human, guys. That's not for me to say. But based on what I see, if we look at, for example, exorcisms and things like this, an exorcism is not necessarily connected just to being a Christian or just to the Christian religion. An exorcism, or when someone is possessed, seems to be when a negative entity or energy from a lower vibrational dimension takes a hold of somebody. And so when we see that, and we see, for example, not in the movies, I know that that's been, materialized in the movies, but when we see, a priest or someone of any religion holding a cross or different structures that seem to upset these negative energies, it seems like there is some truth to it, but there's so much shrouded over this pyramid of just, hierarchy, power, and money that it's hard for me to say. I mean, I don't want to, answer in like a way of like a cop-out answer by saying, I just, some of it's true, some isn't. I think it's a little bit of everything. And that's the most I could say without going on for too long. I could say much more, but fortunately, Ryan, I got to get to the other questions. Dojo asks, just a question. Do you really believe that aliens are actually on Earth here with us? And how come these alien stories don't get shared with the public if there's so many of them? I think they've been here for a long time. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of them don't get shared is because I would dare to say you guys, as well as myself, have come in contact with some of them. And I say that because a lot of them look just like us. And that's what's, I don't want to say scary, but that's what's interesting. Well, how come these alien stories don't get shared with the public? When you say shared with the public, if you're talking about mainstream media, we have to understand that the CIA, former CIA employees have self-admitted that the CIA has their arms, their metaphorical tentacles involved in Hollywood, involved in the media. They tell them what story to cover, what story not to cover. So it's not like they go there and they say to the journalist, look, you see this alien footage, you can't cover it. It's not like that. They tell the boss, the CEO of the company, or what have you. The CEO then tells the I guess the person that manages the journalists on the ground level, and then that person doesn't even know aliens exist. All he's told is, hey, go to the journalist and just say, listen, don't bother with that story. Are you really going to do that story? Right? And it's kind of like that. Are you really going to do it? Just trust me. Trust me. Like, so and so above is not happy. Just leave the story alone. That's usually what happens, right? Like when people say, oh, there's no evidence of UFOs. I mean, with all due respect to the people who say that, very respectfully, I think you guys have, not you guys, but to people who say that, you just haven't looked. I mean, it's there. I mean, yes, we can argue deep fakes and things like this, but again, we talk about it on our Patreon too. We analyze videos and stuff like that. That's a little bit controversial publicly. And we say, there's certain people that came out in the 90s, never to be seen again. Why would they come out just one time? Again, could they be disinformation? Absolutely, they could be. Could they have been sent by an intelligence agency to, to distract people? Of course, we got to look into that too, right? But again, the evidence suggests that the majority of whistleblowers are legitimate whistleblowers. Why? Because most of them end up dead after. Why would an agency like the CIA say, hey, go out there, say the truth, and then we're going to kill you? Or maybe they don't tell them they're going to kill them. But again, it just seems like it puts too much attention on themselves for no reason in a lot of ways, but I could be wrong. The next thing is, it's great you don't speak on things you don't know much about or lean anyway politically refreshing. Thank you. If I'm gonna be totally truthful with you guys, if I don't know much about it, I'll say it. And even politically, I'll tell you for the morning episodes, I tell you when my opinion is coming into play and when it's not. Guys, we'll find out in July about the aliens. Hopefully. I mean, I don't want to shit on people's parade, so to speak, but like, it's almost like this is just a massive psyop. If they reveal something, this has been planned down the pipeline for a while. That's just my opinion. But Henrik goes, adrenochrome souls. Yeah. I can't speak much of that on here, or else they're going to take me down. They've told me. So have you heard of Gematria? Look up how they randomly changes Chadwick Boseman's birthday to make him 43 instead of 42. I haven't heard of that. Actually, I will look into that. Book of Enoch. CN says Book of Enoch. Yeah. Enoch's an interesting book. I mean, it's 3 different books. The Vatican doesn't consider it to be canon. It's interesting because who's the Vatican to say canon means original? Who's the Vatican to say what's original or not? Kind of like the King James version of the Bible that's out now, the most popular one in the West and I think around the world. What's interesting about that too is that they picked and they pulled certain things, whether it's true or not, out of the Bible, out of the King James Bible. I think King James the third or the fourth, if I'm mistaken. And it's like, who are they to say what's legit or not? So clearly it's manipulated. I'm not trying to disrespect people who are religious or who are Christian. I have great respect for atheists, for religious people, you name it. But again, like when Enoch says that he was taken into the heavens and he was flying amongst the heavens, in my opinion, where do you think he was? He was in a ship. He was flying in space, think about the terms they use, right? Let's see next. What do you think is the true extent of humans' technological capabilities? Well, Mike, in terms of being helped by beings of other planets or other worlds, I think it's limitless in terms of what we can understand. If you're asking if like humans did all this on their own, I think we have the capability, but it's like when you look at how many hundreds of years humans progressed slowly but surely, and then in the last 70 years, we've advanced substantially. We could give credit to just humans, but I don't know. Like, Mike, very quickly, I'll say, if we look at General Philip J. Corso, who was one of the gentlemen that recovered some of the material at Roswell, he said, and I put this up more than once on my show, he goes everything from Kevlar to, and this was before Kevlar went even mainstream. So at the time, no one really knew what he was saying when they said, what the hell do you mean by Kevlar? But he said lasers, fiber optics, Kevlar, you name it. He goes, don't kid yourself, was all reverse engineered from material at Roswell. He goes, how do I know? He goes, I was there. Right. So again, we have these people coming out and saying this, but it's almost like, I guess society's too, again, no disrespect, but society's too busy focusing on the fact that Kim Kardashian just filed for divorce from Kanye, you know? So, CN says fallen angels. Yes, yeah. Well, I have a theory on fallen angels if you guys want to hear quickly. I would dare to say fallen angels, aside from interdimensional beings, may in fact have been the Nordics or the tall whites that were left behind that mated with humans here on Earth. And they were sort of, I guess we could say, abandoned by their faction or by their group, and they ended up staying here, which subscribes to the theory that we have some alien blood in us, and the RH null blood type seems to be that. Now, keep in mind, guys, there's a difference between RH null and RH negative blood type, right? I'm not a doctor, but let's see here. What are your thoughts on the AI virtual reality versus life not being simulated? Okay. Like if we're in a spooky opera asked this, if we're in a simulation or not. I think, and I'm not saying this towards you guys, I just think in general, we have to define the word simulation in the sense that, is this an extremely advanced one? And I say this because, again, evidence, not proof, but evidence to suggest we look at a lot of mathematical geometric patterns on Earth, in nature, and space. It seems like there's like a code, if you want to call it, that we haven't broken yet. And not that we need to break it, but it seems like, these UFOs, they tend to bend it. So ultimately, it's like the fabric of the universe, it's got to be made up of something. To use the word simulation is a very limited word, in my opinion. Let me see. I'm going to apply. I've designed it. It's used. Pawan, sorry. Kumar says Alpha Draconians. Oh, Alpha Draconians. Yeah. I think they're here. The thing with the reptilian situation, though, I do have to say, because I like to play devil's advocate, as most of you guys know, I always say to myself, why haven't we seen more proof of these reptilian shape-shifting? Yes, there's some camera footage, there's some CCTV footage, like the one next to the security guard next to Obama, the men in black walking into a building, and the face all seems to have that consistent alpha draconian shape-shifting face. But I am a little bit skeptical, not to say they don't exist. I'm just skeptical to see why or how they've been hiding so well. But again, maybe it's just me. I could be totally wrong. Let me see here. I think it's based off some guy on Reddit who said he was abducted, told him they would no NOAA to disclose prediction of underwater ETs to be disclosed on July 21 by abducted anon in a thread from 5 years ago. We'll see. Look, it's possible. Here's the thing, though, guys. I've come across a ton, a ton of blogs from 2003, 2004, 2005, talking about stuff that we're just publicly hearing about now. And even now it's still considered a conspiracy. I wouldn't rule it out in terms of people knowing things, predicting things. Look at Phil Schneider. He talked about adrenochrome before it was even a thing in that movie in the 90s. So how did he know, right? Carla Turner, she had suddenly a random onset of cancer very quickly. Right when she started doing speeches about extracting the human soul and things like that from the eyes during abductions and all that. Look, I don't rule out the predictions. I'll tell you that. Why Dr. Stephen Greer doesn't talk about reptilians? There's a theory. Oops, sorry. Why is it one? Let me see. Sorry guys, I missed this here. Sorry guys, give me a second. I got to catch up here. Man, there's a lot of great questions here. I really thank you guys for that. Okay, why doesn't Stephen Greer talk about reptilians? A couple things. There's a very real possibility he knows certain things and he's being told what to say and what not to say. Also, it's possible he wanted to avoid the whole reptilian thing just because it's been so glamorized and sensationalized in a bad way. The second you start talking about reptilians, a lot of people go, holy crap, so don't rule that out either. I got a lot of respect for Stephen Greer. I do have to say, I think he knows things that he can't talk about publicly that he wants to say really badly, but he'd put himself in serious danger. I'm not saying the guy knows everything. I don't think he knows even close to everything. But again, he's been let in on some things, I would dare to say. It's either that or they had to, get rid of him because of how many questions he was asking over time. The cleanupper goes, thoughts on Cern. Okay, Cern. Yeah, they're up to some interesting crap. Let's put it that way. A lot of what they do, I think, is legitimate. But again, I think it's like the double layer or the triple layer of secrecy. You have your scientists on the public end. Then you have the scientists that know what's going on but don't fully get it. Then you have this much smaller group of scientists that truly know what's happening. So by compartmentalizing, CERN believes the majority of employees at CERN, just like at NASA, believe they're doing great work, and this whole thing of a secret space program or portals and dimensions and stargates is not real. But in reality, there's a small group that is kind of guiding the rest of the employees which way to go and what to do in order to help the secret programs. That's what I think. It could be more than that, but Hector goes, I have a theory that alien abduction isn't physical, but rather an abduction of your consciousness, taking your mind and transferring it to another dimension temporarily. You know what, Hector? I wouldn't rule it out. I really wouldn't rule it out. There seems to be a lot of people who say that it's almost like their soul or their spirit is taken aboard a craft, whereas instead of their actual body, it's very possible. JPA 1988 goes, I remember an episode where you're talking about a base under the Caspian Sea, Dracula, by Bram Stoker, which came out in 87, that said Dracula's power came from the devil who lived under the Caspian. Right. Well, here's the thing. Vampires and stuff like that, I also find interesting. Like if you look at that woman from many, many years ago, the emotionless woman or something like this, I think there's more to the whole vampire thing than we think. I do think a lot of it's been distorted, but I do have to say that, I mean, I with vampires, I don't know enough to comment. I really don't. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. I don't rule anything out. But the way I'll tell you guys, when I go into my research, the perspective I take is not to believe it, but not to disbelieve it. I try to take a perspective of truly, I don't know anything, and anything is possible, right? Or anything is impossible, both ways. The dates from the guy that got abducted 7 years ago lined up with the government disclosed date in July 2021. Well, exactly. So there's, again, guys, the key is consistency and patterns. And a lot of times you got to look for what's not there instead of what is there, right? Humans, most likely. Hadon, I'm not sure what you're speaking of, but yeah, I guess humans. The Lone Stoner says, not time travel, dimension shift. Yeah, it's again, parallel dimensions, multiple universes, different timelines. I think all of that is ingrained in the fabric of reality, right? What do you think about the 369, the key to the universe? You know what, Ernesto? I'm going to be honest with you. I've come across that. I never looked into it extremely, unless I'm totally forgetting or whatever. I don't want to comment on something I don't know, so I can't say. I will get back to you, though. Thoughts on 5G? 5G. I got to be careful with this live stream publicly with 5G. Same thing with adrenochrome. I got to be careful. 5G to me is, I don't think necessarily bad, but again, we got to be careful with how we perceive things. Like, is there something within the frequencies that are being emitted that may be suppressing? Very possible. You know what, Crone 33, I want to say more, but I know the limit of what I can and can't say publicly on a YouTube video or live stream. So, blessings to you. You're doing a fantastic service. Thank you so much. Yeah, Bone said he likes this style of live streaming. If you guys like this style of live streaming, this is what I'm going to do every Saturday. And or we can do something where like I do a miniature like live episode, and then I'll take your questions after, stuff like that. Vaughn C says, what is magic? Well, magic is could be interpreted in many different ways, right? Harnessing energy, spirituality, all that stuff. Seer Shrulu says they're all truth mixed with lies, in my opinion. Yeah, well, the best type of lie is the one when you wrap it in truth, right? And it's if you look at the consistency, I mean, every single, not just in the West, that cover-ups for years, for hundreds of years, kingdoms, empires, they've been doing, it's the same method, right? Alien technology is magic. Yeah, in a lot of ways, yeah. Magic is esoteric science, secret technology. Yeah, I would say so. Slinks asks, do you think reptilians are real? Yes, Yeah, for sure. The lone stoner military is afraid of them because they cannot control them. Right. Which is, again, I don't want to be an advocate of things like drugs and stuff like that, or psychedelics, but it seems like that's why they're banned. I'm not saying they're good for you, but I'm not saying they're bad. But everyone who's taken them has told that have told me about their experiences say nothing but great things. Could you please do a video on the origins of human or Rh negative, the Greys, and their constant interest in it? Gang stalking and targeted individuals. I absolutely could. Actually, I'm working on something regarding the Greys right now. Targeted individuals, not sure what you mean by that. They are as real as the nose on our faces. Yep. Could we try and find one of these secret underground military bases and try to break in? Well, I'll tell you guys right now, my plan when this whole mess with COVID and all that is over is I want to go to Area 51 and live stream it and get as close as I can. I mean, people have done that before. It's nothing new. I want to see what happens, but I highly doubt it. I mean, if anyone, people who have gone hiking into mountains who have accidentally found certain entrances are never seen from again and stuff like that. So, I mean, if I wish, but it's almost like they're far too powerful. The military, the aliens, you name it. They're far too smart and powerful. Mistakes do happen. People stumble upon dumb entrances, dumb deep underground military base entrances. But Ahmad Goes talks about Morgellons. Oh, yes. Phil asks, opinion about the shadow government. Oh, 100% they're legit. I mean, it just comes down to the way in which they're labeled and things like that. 100% the shadow government's legit, because just like anything, you have the front end, you have the back end, and then you have the ones that are really pulling the strings, and maybe even more than that. I think that when you say the shadow government, it's kind of like, let me think of a good film to give an idea of. I think it's the Jack Ryan film with Chris Pine, I believe, from Star Trek, the same actor there, about how he was disclosing there were certain people in. No, sorry, what am I saying? Ryan Reynolds, that film Ryan Reynolds with Denzel Washington, where he's a CIA agent. And so what I'm trying to get at here is that that's probably a very good example of how there's certain people in on it in the shadow government. There's a loyalty to that small group. And that's it. There's no official papers written up. There's none of that stuff. It's a loyalty to a small group. Simple as that. And those who are in on it, so to speak. And if you look at a lot of people within the shadow government, and this was actually the gentleman from Rumors of Instinct podcast told me about this, and it makes perfect sense. People like George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, people who I've done episodes on this before, who were briefed very extensively on extraterrestrials and the secret space program, they all seem to have over time some form of dementia, Alzheimer's, you name it. And it seems like they're given something over time that they've accepted, that if they want to know about this, because they're the president, in theory, they have the right. And I mean, certain presidents, they just deny the existence, but ones they think they can trust, like Reagan, Eisenhower, George H.W. Bush, George Bush Sr., they all eventually over time, they accept the fact that as they get older, they're going to get dementia or Alzheimer's as some, through a direct energy weapon or through some type of injection or something. And I do believe that occurs. Absolutely. Let me see here. Thoughts on reptilians, aka lizard people? 100%. I mean, in my humble opinion, 95% they're here. They're legit. It seems to be consistent with legitimate reptilians, like, lizards and stuff like that, and not lizard humanoids, like lizards you find in the forest. You look at how they're emotionless, they're self-serving. It certainly is consistent with the lizard people humanoids, right? Self-serving. Terry says there was a confirmed CIA guy in a Greer movie said he would give bags of money to specific Yes, Terry, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's in the unacknowledged documentary on Netflix. You guys got to see it. Not saying you have to believe it, but just go in with an open mind. He talks about how there's certain things he can get into, certain things he can't. He used to drop off bags of cash to Hollywood directors to put certain scenes in movies as part of predictive programming, all that stuff. This is how we discover the truth. We wade through all the info, the bullshit included. Absolutely. We have no choice because we don't know what it is at the beginning. Salt Shaker goes, do you know about any, well, hello, so hey to you. Do you know about any believable cases about real witchcraft from recent history, or is it a forgotten practice? I know a lot about witchcraft cases. The thing is I think it depends on the energy that's put into and how many conscious souls are putting that energy into a certain seance or ritual. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know maybe as much as some of you might when it comes to witchcraft and things like this. I think it's still around. It's still practiced. I think it's possibly, and I say this carefully because I could be wrong, I think it's science we cannot yet explain in a spiritual sense. I think it comes down to the intention of the individual doing the ritual. If it's a negative intention with symbolism that for thousands of years has been associated with negative energy, you're going to get that type of stuff. If it's positive, then it's different, or it could be neutral, right? Finn goes, you ever saw a UFO? Yeah, I have. There's literally one that comes outside my place almost every night at this point. Same spot. Every time it comes, not every time, but most of the time that it comes, I put it on my Instagram story. I mess with it with a laser. And actually, it's cool that you asked that, Finn, because whenever I shoot the laser at it, it's a pretty powerful laser. It's not an airplane because I would have been arrested by now, I'll tell you that. But you can see it's clearly a circle. Sometimes it's weird. Sometimes it looks like it shapeshifts into a triangle. But when I shoot the laser at it, it's like the laser bends around the ship. But that's consistent with a lot of what whistleblowers, documents, evidence has been saying, right? There's something like even Bob Lazar said, there's like a heart-shaped EMF field that forms around it, right? Someone goes, Henrik says, you thought about making a BitChute account for the more darker topics, such as adrenochrome. Yeah, well, what's going on Patreon now is there's far less restrictions with certain videos I'm putting up on there. If anything does happen, I'm going right to BitChute. I'll tell you right now. Ahmad goes, Morgellons is known a technology, smart dust like tech, but in the form of fungus that is airborne and it's spread by airplanes as chemtrails. It's possible. Look, things like chemtrails, again, I got to be careful with that. I'm very sorry, Ahmad. I got to be careful publicly talking about that because I could get removed for that, sadly. The thing with chemtrails is, like, again, chemtrails, adrenochrome, rituals, stuff like that. If you noticed in my public episodes, I got to be really careful. So there are certain things I want to address, Ahmad, but if you want to email me, brother, genzedpodcast@gmail.com, you're more than welcome to. It's in the description of all my videos. We can talk more there. Here's the Reddit username for the guy that got abducted by aliens, throwaway alien. A Google search will bring up his, yes, you're 100% correct. Chris goes, almost 100 people. Oh, nice. UFOs are real. Seen two different ones 10 years apart. Oh, absolutely. Who's seen the Justice League trailer? The Snyder one? I haven't, but I plan to. I've seen UFOs 3 times in my life, years apart. I've seen a UFO two times in my lifetime. Some Dojo goes, this is the most entertaining stream I've seen. Well, thank you, man. I'm trying. Chris, again, 100 people. Chris is just trying to get that 100. Now, Pawan asks, why is it that no good ET races have tried to help unlock the capabilities of human minds so we can become better spiritual conscious beings? You know what, Pawan? Hopefully, I'm saying your name correctly. I would argue that they have. A lot of people have come forward, said that they've been spoken to telepathically. You look at a lot of cases in the 90s, early 2000s, UFOs coming down into Africa and speaking to children telepathically. A lot of people have asked, even on the Joe Rogan podcast, Jacques Vallée said, Jacques Vallée seemed to know, but Joe Rogan goes, I don't know. Why would they speak to children of all people? Why not a military establishment? And I'll tell you why. At least I think I know why. Because children's spirits are pure. And they're the future. They're going to live the longest in this dimension physically. So you don't want to try to convince someone telepathically that already has their mindset, right? If you're going to do it, you're going to give a positive influence on someone who's young and is still impressionable, right? And also you said have tried to help unlock the capabilities of human minds. That's because, Pawan, I would dare to say, based on my research, that they respect the structure of human leadership. They only speak, and when I say they, I'm talking about the Greys, the Tall Greys, the Nordics. You have some factions that speak out or that come out quietly to small groups of people. But again, they don't allow their pictures to be taken, so those people it's only their word we can go off of, right? Um, I do think ultimately, though, it's a combination of a little bit of tension, maybe not anymore, but with humans and certain alien races having to do with, weapons and things like that. They see that we're very self-destructive and all that stuff. The fallen angels are aliens. Yeah, I dare to say. Black disc and white yellow cigar shape. Yeah, seen those a lot. Our advancements in the last 70 years are influenced by alien technologies without a doubt, 100%. And I don't think we even have 1, 2, or 3% of what they really have. If we look at the former Lockheed Martin president of the Skunk Works division back in the 90s, I forgot his name off the top of my head. He said, we have the means already to travel amongst the stars. Everything you see in movies, we can do, but it's so tied up in black budget operations and black projects, we'll never see it publicly. Christopher says the Adam and Eve story by Channing Thomas was taken by the CIA and later released but redacted and even removed a few pages. Any chance you can check it out? Christopher, thank you. I'll write that down right now, actually. I didn't even know that, by the way. I really appreciate that. Actually, there we go. Okay. Now, let me see here. I have a photo of a gray cigar UFO near a chemtrail. If you'd be willing to share it, my friend, send me an email by all means. Moff says, nice. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Sean, these topics are right up my alley. Oops. I got to go back. Sorry, one sec, guys. Let me see. Oh, man, these are some awesome questions. Sorry, let me see 1 second. I saw, just while I'm going back to this, I saw some Cam asked, is there any subjects that you wouldn't talk about? Publicly, I got to be careful. In the private stuff, I'll talk about everything. I'll tell you right now. I try to talk about as much publicly as I can without getting in trouble of the terms and conditions and all that stuff. Let me see. Oof, geez, I feel bad. I don't want to skip your guys. Oh, Sean says these topics are right up my alley. I thought the fallen angels were Nephilims because when David fought Goliath, he fought a giant. Just a guess. That's what Terry said. Look, it's possible. It's possible. The thing with the Nephilims and the giants and the fallen angels, there's a lot of debate as to whether or not they're different. They're one and the same. There's a few different kinds. There's different interpretations. Sean also said, humble is the. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Ahmad goes, so in his Islam, Muhammad, the prophet, boarded a flying object that flew in the speed of thought from Petra to Jerusalem, then to seventh heaven. The event is called Isra's Mirage, hopefully, and Mirage, sorry. That's I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. That's great to know. I'm going to look into that. Thank you. OBDM says rituals, magic, prayer are all APIs that can interface with the simulation. Right. That's what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Sean goes, the jinn are very much the same, I think, or are they all one of their own? I don't know, Sean. I wish I could tell you, brother. I don't know. Moff goes, giants made the pyramids. I wouldn't rule that out. That's for sure. Fantastic. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Bones goes, I've heard the way technology compounds in a 100-year period, the first 90 years equals to the last 10. So they must be 100 plus years in advance. Okay, so thank you for bringing that up, Bones. Something I want to say quickly. Phil Schneider, and I know I go off of his word a lot. I know that. And some of you guys reach out to me and say, how come you believe him so much and all that? I believe him so much because of his consistency. He has said, amongst tons of others, that for every year that goes by on average, within the deep underground military bases, the biological technology, the actual physical technology, you name it, the human race advances about 40 to 50 years for every 1 year that goes by, if that makes sense. It wouldn't surprise me, I'll tell you right now. And if that's the case, then at this rate, they're hundreds, if not thousands, thousands of years ahead. Ahmad goes, the UFO he boarded in Semitic is Borak, which means white shining like lightning. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. That's very consistent. I'm 51 years old and I've seen a lot of BS, believe me, but since 8 years old, I've followed this topic. My conclusion is they are real. They're here. You guys want to know, you guys, now that I have a good group of people watching, and I'm not trying to say, I'm not going to guarantee this will happen, but you want to know some place where a lot of people believe that aliens like to hang out and stuff. I'm not even joking. Go to your local library, bookstore, um, in the spiritual section. Very interesting. I've been told by someone who I trust very much, who's very intuitive spiritually, that every time they go to the book section, this the religion spiritual section, there are people there that seem to be human, but they're looking like they're acting as if someone might have noticed them or something like that. And then when they look in their eyes go literally all black. Like even the white part of their eyeball goes all black. I'm not saying it's going to work for you guys. I'm just saying that it's very possible, because again, these aliens, the ones that look like us, apparently they like to go to malls, they like to go to casinos, they like to go to bookstores, that kind of stuff. um Gilgamesh, thank you, says Gilgamesh Chamber. Yep. Um, Terry goes, maybe Greer knows the government is run by the reptilians. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I've screwed up on this too. I used to laugh at that theory, but the more research I do, the more I think it's a legitimate possibility. Um, do you know something that you can't share with us on YouTube? So far, the stuff that I cannot share on YouTube, I'm doing in the private members only videos. That's basically, I mean, I don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff I have my research prepared for, weeks in advance for some episodes, 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance. So I do know stuff that I will be showing you guys that you guys maybe know or maybe don't know. I don't have inside access all the time. I have some sources, but nothing crazy. Someone else goes, search panspermia. Scientifically, it's the best theory that explains the origins of humans, but is being pushed back by mainstream scientists because of political agendas. Absolutely. I actually did a video on panspermia that I decided not to release, and then I accidentally totally deleted it, but I will do it again. Moth goes, I've just been getting into this giant theory. If you're talking about like the giants, yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Check it out for yourself and see what you think. A1_EM asks, do you think the coronavirus is planned? I I want to answer your question. I got to be careful again. That kind of stuff, YouTube will take me down. That's the most I can say. Cam says, is there any subject that you wouldn't talk about? No, I talk about everything. Someone else, the Lone Stoner goes, I think Greer is onto something, but more evidence is needed. Right. But that's the thing, though. Once you get onto something, you usually hit that threshold of someone telling you, listen, you got to stop talking. Finn goes, you ever saw a UFO? Yep. Chris goes, consciousness transfer is very real. It's done in the 20 and back. Yes. Yeah. Age regression, but not like age regression in the meditational way or therapeutic way, an actual chamber that you go in. Yeah. What do you think of DMT? I've never done it. If I were to do any psychedelic, I'd probably do shrooms first. You know what, guys? I hear 90% of the stories I hear about psychedelics, and I said this at the beginning of the stream, is positive. But I've heard the odd time someone goes in with a bad mindset and they come out and they're not the same again. And I'm not trying to give it a bad name. Honestly, I'm not. But I don't plan to do it anytime soon. I'm too busy trying to make the best type of content for you guys. If I do psychedelics, man, I'll be sure to tell you guys before I do it and after I do it. Conscious transfer equals meditation. Yeah. Francis goes, love your content. Thank you so much. Cindy goes, hi from Montreal. Hey, Cindy, how are you? Angel goes, my mom saw a UFO. She thought it was an airplane until the lights split. Well, exactly. More and more recently, we've seen UFOs that have been able to split into 2 or 3 pieces, or ships, if you will. Ahmad goes, I've been through the experience of alien abductions when I was 9 years old. I'm 44 now. In short, time freezes, you black out, and you don't recall it immediately, but I'm sure it's physics. Yeah, exactly. Time kind of freezes, not just in that sense. Also, when you're being spoken to spiritually in a lot of ways, a lot of people talk about how they can recall feeling like time doesn't exist in the moment and like frequencies within their mind line up. Could that be like part of the pineal gland? It's very possible. Just an episode on that where it talks about, x-rays showing parts of the pineal gland emit certain energy that is unexplainable, right? I think that's part of the disc theory. A lot of that knowledge is being suppressed. I hope a lot of younger people get into this, is seek truth. I hope so too. Alexis says, what do you think about a possible economy transition back to the gold standard, gold, silver, digital gold, in a way to break away from the central bank? I don't know. I have a friend, Chris, who knows much more about that aspect of things. I think that it'd be tough. It'd be tough. Even this whole thing of decentralization, they're going to find a way to control it. And it's sad for me to say, but I mean, whatever, right? Mike goes thumbs up, everyone. Thanks for the thumbs up. Toon goes, oh, I like this one. Would people go nuts if it was confirmed that a flat, hollow Earth dome model is real and only different Earth civilizations from past, future, and underground exist? Toon, or Toon Tamasha, I think people would go nuts either way. I think less people would go nuts than 30, 40 years ago, but I think still people would go nuts. 100%. Yeah, sadly. But Conrad asks, have you ever had an out-of-body experience? Yes. Yeah. If you want to know the out-of-body, it's just light astral projection, nothing like what some of you guys have shared with me. I've just fallen back into my body, woken up middle of the night. That's it. Pawan goes, I think every species on planet Earth is kind of small and unintelligent representation of similar looking intelligent beings from distant planets in the universe. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, if we look at some of the theories of, there being certain praying mantis beings, like, literal aliens that are very smart, that are, I don't know if they have good intentions or not, but they're praying mantis looking, and they're literally just a bigger version of a praying mantis. It wouldn't surprise me. Jerry Gaming goes, shout out, sir, please. Love from India. Yeah, no problem. Let me write down Jerry Gaming. I'll shout you out in tomorrow's episode. Sean goes, I heard the name of Jesus really makes their alien skin crawl. I've heard that too, but I don't know enough about that to say. And I'm not even trying to hide anything. I just don't know, Sean, unfortunately. So I don't want to talk about stuff I don't know. Hydro Hose goes, you see everything, it all breaks down in front of you. The essence, the air itself is a complex design pulled into the void. You gain momentum locked forward, only slowing to what seems a lone star. Yeah, absolutely. Eddie goes, hey, Eddie, what's going on? I missed the beginning. Don't worry. Chris goes 100 feet. Yeah, Hydro Hose goes, believe ET, everybody. Francis, way too powerful. Not sure what you're talking about, Francis, but yeah, way too powerful. Terry goes, I'm sure the deep state threatens your family if you speak up, in my opinion. Yeah, certainly. Chris goes, training day. Not sure what you mean by that, Chris, but Moth goes, most people believe in God. He's an ET, right? The thing with God is very interesting. It's because it seems like a lot of these aliens also don't know the origination of life, and their goal is to try to discover it just like we are. So it's possible. Hold on, let me just write down Jerry's name here. If anybody wants a shout out, let me know. Might have to split it up because there's a lot, but let me see here. Hector says NOAA and the Navy have extensive knowledge on deep sea advanced civilizations, includes the Russians and the US and Russian Navy. Submarines have a deep code of silence nobody talks about. Yeah, I believe that. When you see a lot of these soldiers, not all of them, but a lot of them having to come out and sign a non-disclosure deals or NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, yeah. Hydro Hose goes, I've seen the Bible Red Sea as an ocean. Anyone want to see the Joseph goes, Hydro's on another level. Oh, I see what you're saying. Chris goes, reptilians are interdimension. Very possibly, yeah. I saw your Instagram story of the UFO cool stuff. Thank you. Prototype guy says you should go live as well on Instagram. Yeah, I'll probably do that too. Let me see here. Chris goes, and they've infiltrated government and politics. Very possible. Very possible. Don't mention the reptilians. Good documentary on YouTube, right? Someone else here says, a good commenter says, also search about the hypothesis about how Bigfoots are the actual result of a natural evolution on Earth, and humans are made because of alien manipulation, especially Anunnakis. Yeah, you see, there's a thing with the Anunnakis and the whole Bigfoot thing. Apparently, like Bigfoot, I don't know, so sorry, I can't really comment. I've never looked into Bigfoot. I'm going to tell you guys right now. Anunnakis, there's a possibility that there's disinformation around that. I mean, if we're talking, if there's been a successful disinformation campaign for tens of thousands of years, then my God, they did it. They did a good job. And if not, then the Anunnaki thing, I totally would subscribe to that theory. Sean goes, it sounds like angels and demons. Yeah, exactly. Joseph goes, Jared Young says, are nanotech bots out there in the public? Brother, I don't want to fearmonger. I think there's a lot out there in the public we don't know. I'm not trying to sound like a super paranoid person, but when you look at, okay, you know what? When you look at interviews with intelligence agents, not even the top guys, well, the top guys too, when you look and they retire from their career in the intelligence community, what you realize in a lot of the interviews they do afterwards, look at John Brennan, for example, former CIA director, very nervous, very anxious all the time. Now you can argue, fine, these intelligence guys are spies. They're not made to be social people. I get that. But part of being a spy is learning how to master the social aspect. So when you start to see guys like him forgetting things over time after they retired, coincidentally, going back to what I said before, and you start to see things of, they're moving their hands, they're constantly rubbing their heads. I think a lot of that has to do with anxiety because they know the type of nanotechnology that is currently out there, right? In the forms of insects, in the forms of many things, right? Somewhat 16 says G says, now I understand why nobody's talking about geoengineering. Not sure. Well, I can see what you mean. The Lone Stoner says, so much for freedom of speech. Hey, guys, we cannot state what we believe on a live. Yeah, certain things we can't. Sear Shrulu goes, my grandpa saw a UFO in the 80s. Very cool. And that's the other thing, too. Again, consistency. People that see if we look at, for example, 1976, the Tehran incident with the triangle UFO above Tehran and Israel. What the hell is that? There was no deep fake technology back then, right? I mean, again, unless the photos have been altered, which I can't say for certain that they haven't been, but Ahmad goes, I have a clip of a UFO on the roof of the building where I live. Ahmad, if you'd like to share it, by all means, I'd put it out to everybody. Chris says, how many MW lasers? Oof, damn it. Hold on, guys, sorry. I want to get to all your questions, that's why. The stream jumped. Okay, let me see. Sorry. Nanotech for sure. This is what subjects do. Okay, so hold on. What Moth asks, what subjects do you like talking about most? You know what, Moth? I like everything, and maybe you might say that's a cop-out answer, but the reason why I like everything is because everything interconnects with everything else. But to answer your question, the ones I like the most, probably, I would say, for example, my favorite episode to tell you guys the most exciting so far was probably the Gate episode and the Project Carrot episode, simply because there was just so much evidence there that it just adds to what we're discussing, and in a way, it proves what we're discussing, right? Chris goes, this is gold, and the crowd is oh yeah, the crowd's you guys are fantastic, thank you. Nanotech for sure, but very suppressed. Oh, of course, that's the whole point. It's by definition, right? That's in the name. Brian Garcia says, do you know what is key energy? Yes, yeah, I do. Terry goes, here's my thoughts. The UFOs, mostly grays that are abducting, are breaking universal law by interfering with us. The benevolent ones, the Fed, etc., are letting us live on our own until we F up, in my opinion. I agree with a lot of that, Terry. Yeah. I think that's one aspect of it. I think there's more angles to it, but I think you're definitely on the right track. All religions have a few commonalities and a lot of differences. It's the commonalities we should... Right. C. Hensel asks, what do you think of Men in Black? As far as I can find out, nobody's ever come forward about anything to do with it at all. I think Men in Black is part of one of the most top secret things, because I think a lot of them are not human. That's why a lot of them haven't come forward, because how can you come forward if you're not human, right? You show up, you do what you got to do because you're working with the human government, and then you go back to whichever base or whichever plan or what you name it, right? Oh yeah, cool. Due to that killer mic, I can't recall seeing your yeah. I've heard that years ago, dude. Yep. Hydro Hose goes, hey guy, love you too, man. Love all you guys. Thank you. Ahmad goes, have researched the topic of Dewata. Dewatas are humanoid jinn hybrids. Those hybrids live amongst us, and they're shapeshifters. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying for sure. I can't say everything 100%, but I would certainly like not even not rule it out. I put my money on that. Yeah. Um, Hydro hose believe ET. Yeah. Henrik, do you buy into the artificial moon conspiracy? Okay. I do. I do. And I'll tell you why. Astronomers from hundreds of years ago have journals that have ironically been classified by the Vatican and the CIA talking about how they have seen activity on the moon. Now, that doesn't mean the moon was built artificially, but there's more than average evidence to suggest it is certainly more than 50% possible. Um, awesome live stream. What ET races are most common on Earth that you know of? Well, first off, thank you, Daiko. Hope you're doing well wherever you're from. What I think the Nordics, the tall whites, mainly because they look just like us. They don't really have to do much, like in terms of blending in. I mean, there's certain things, but again, if they live much longer and they're much smarter than us and things like this, they may have to do basic things like, dye their hair a certain color if it stands out too much or something like this. But again, um, Chanel says, I'm here wondering why so many UFO whistleblowers, he says that in quotes, has an interest in committing suicide. Shaking my head, this shit is so obvious they want to hide it. Right, exactly. And again, that's just my opinion. That's something I want to believe, but it's like, again, it's ironic how mentally unstable all of these people become when they talk about what's supposed to be the truth, because they all end up committing suicide or something like this, and then they get ruled out to have some type of mental issue. Right now, maybe some of them did, maybe some of them didn't, but when you look at medical records and they've seen therapists, and the therapists have said, when I knew this person when he was alive, he had no medical issues, and they only went to see therapists just a few times to discuss other things, like marriage problems and all that. The therapists have said these whistleblowers have not had any mental issues from their diagnosis, right? So Jared says, are nanotech bots out there in the public? Are nanotech? Oh, I think so. Again, I'm not trying to scare people, but I think so. Lunatics goes, you have a good heart. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The essence, the air is a complex design. Pulled into the void, you gain momentum, locked forward, only slowing to what seems a lone star. Yeah, I can understand that and believe that. Ahmad goes, lots of interactions with Driada. Christopher goes, loving this stream. Thank you. Hydro Hose goes, can you see this? Yeah, I can. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Belly Cam Kitchen goes, what's up? What's going on, Belly? How are you? Ahmad goes, the Watas look like Filipinos. I don't know that, but I'll take your word for it, Ahmad. And it's sort of like saying the tall whites or the Nordics look very similar to Eastern European people. Very possible. Hydro Hose goes, I've tamed a lion, once stole his roar, I ripped his pride. Please don't change says, what is your take on the monoliths that showed up all over? The monolith thing is interesting because, again, you have to, when these stories come out, you got to wait until the hype dies down, right? And the thing is about the monoliths is that some people are saying it was just a school project. Others are saying that it is some type of form of frequential emitting vibrations. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm 50-50 on it being a hoax or not. Chronic goes, what do you know about the pineal gland? Maybe not as much as some of you in here, but a decent amount. I know that the pineal gland emits certain energies when viewed in an X-ray machine or other infrared forms of vision that is not explained by scientists. They don't know how it's emitting that type of energy, right? So let me see here. Brian Garcia goes, UFOs are very real. One time I went outside, it was dark too, and I saw this weird balloon flying up in the sky, and it looked like a human hanging from it, and it drops. And I've seen that too before, Brian. I've actually seen that. I've seen UFOs that are like octopus. No, not octopus. Squid looking. I think no. Sorry, what? Jellyfish looking. They're circular on the top, and they got all these like arms at the bottom. Mike, Mike, it's going good. It's going good. Pawan goes, you're doing a really good job. Thank you. Love from India. Love to you too, Pawan. Thank you. Mike goes, only 60 likes. Let's smash the like button. You know what? I appreciate that, Mike. And guys, I appreciate that. But, we're here to have a conversation and engage. So this is what I like to do the most. Brian says the balloon kind of looked like a deformed moon, then it quickly went away after dropping some type of object. Yeah, I've heard that before. Absolutely. And I've seen similar things like that before. Shah goes, your thoughts on Jin? I'm sorry, if I'm saying your name correctly. Respectfully, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Alex Rodriguez says, I've been following you. You're the best. Thank you. You're the best, Alex. Thank you. CAE says, what if we are the size of ants compared to most species in the universe? Hey, that thought goes through my mind every time before I go to sleep in a lot of ways. If we are, we got to look at it like glass half full, glass half empty. If we are, then hopefully there are other things smaller than us, or maybe there aren't. Not hopefully, but based on mathematical probability, right? Scorpius says, yo, what's going on, Scorpius? Alex Rodriguez goes, the story of the guy that saw the praying mantis and made a picture of it. Yeah. Hydro Hose goes, can you read my comment, please, or is it hidden from you? It's just a poem. I haven't seen anything, Hydro. I could read it, but I haven't seen anything yet. Angel goes, shout out from SoCal. Bless you, brother. Love your content. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So thank you, guys. Thank you. Angel goes, isn't God with us? Or within us? Sorry. Yeah. I mean, I don't know enough to say, and I don't want to say, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of different possibilities with that, divine energy, forms of consciousness that are assembled in many different ways in a metaphysical term, right? Mantis, Ahmad says, mantis insects are the Dewatas. I've heard that. Dojo Reporter says, give me a shout out. Yeah, no problem. Let me write that down. Amwad Muyerhead, I'm so sorry if I butchered your name, says hi from Jamaica. Hello, my friend. I would like to come to Jamaica. I hear my family's been. I've heard nothing but great things. Okay, so hold on. And then Rue FPV says, shout me out. Okay, so Dojo Reporter and Rue. Okay, I got a lot here, guys, so just bear with me. Let me see. Dojo Reporter, and let me see here. Christopher Cox 2 and Rue FPV. Christopher, okay. Sean asks, do you believe gold is interdimensional? I guess, Sean, you're asking that because of the whole Anunnaki story, or rumors with that. If it's not interdimensional, it's used for something that can fuel it. That's my take on it. Do you believe gold is interdimensional? Oh, damn it. I went right to the bottom of the thing. Hold on. Man, there's some great questions here. Christopher goes, he hides it under his beanie. I don't know what you're talking about, but I do hide it under my beanie, whatever you're talking about. Originally 45, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Ahmad goes, humans have been suppressed abilities. Aliens will abduct those who have strong abilities and is surfacing. They abduct to alter this ability or vanish it. Yep. Originally 45 says, is your third eye open? Oh, because Christopher says he had to. Yeah, okay. So is my third eye open? I don't think as much as some of you guys, to tell you the truth, at least not that I know of consciously. Okay, this is interesting. Alexis goes, have you ever taken a glance at the Q map? Not to involve Q entirely, but the map is very, very interesting. Everything you report on the map has it mapped out. Alexis, I really can't talk about that publicly. I'm sorry. If you want to email me, if you check any of my videos, my email's there, genzpodcast@gmail.com. This stream will get taken down like this if I talk about that publicly, so I'm sorry. Hydro Hose goes, I see everything on the internet as an attack on the mind. I feel it is all connected. Yes, yeah. Sasuke Ushiha, I hope I didn't mispronounce your name, my friend. Can I get a shout out? Yes, absolutely. And have you checked out the other patents under the guy who owns the land that Area 51 is on. The patents include triangle and disc-shaped vehicles, hence what we see. Also included teleportation tech and training program human body to move through walls, along with many patents for various unknown substances. I've seen some of it. I will give you a shout out, and if you can do me a favor, Sasuk, I'd love for you to send me emails or an email of some of the patents you're talking about, because I might not have seen all of them. If you could, I'd appreciate it. My email is GenZed, GenZed, podcast@gmail.com. Let me just write down your name quickly. Okay. It's like duck hunting. We throw out a wooden decoy, make a sound like a duck. The duck comes. They can't even tell it's decoy. Maybe aliens do this. Oh, yeah. In a lot of different ways. I mean, we could be fooled so easily that it's almost sad in a way. Well, I mean, when you have an advanced species thousands, if not millions years ahead of us, we stand no chance. Let me see here. Thank you, Lion Mongoya. Thank you. Originally 45 goes, what's your thought on 369? 369. Why does that sound familiar? I don't recall off the top of my head. I'm so sorry, my friend. I'm going to have to get back to you on that. Ugne Babelut asks, do you think America is ruled by Israel? Oh, okay. I like that question. That's yes and no. To answer your question, yes and no. If we look at, for example, Epstein, we can see that, and I got to be careful with that too publicly, but because the mainstream media has picked it up, again, I hate that they're they set the standard of what we can talk about, but whatever. Epstein seemed to be an agent for the Mossad. It seems as though the Mossad, which is the intelligence arm of Israel, which is very strong, by the way, arguably right up there with the CIA and the Russian FSB, they do things a little more ruthlessly than the CIA, but don't kid yourself. The CIA is just as ruthless. There's a lot of former agents who were asked publicly, do agencies use child prostitution to blackmail people? And these agents would just say, look, no comment on the matter. And yeah, I mean, look, it's a ruthless game. It's not that some of them want to play it, some of them do, but others realize that if they don't play that game, that particular level of a chess game, then they're out of the game. Right? So you almost don't have a choice. And it's a terrible thing, but it's the reality. It's a terrible thing. So do I think America's ruled by Israel? Certain aspects, yeah. Hollywood, I think, yeah. And I'm not saying that because, and not to sound, racist or anything like this, I'm not saying that because of the whole, Jews run Hollywood thing. I have a lot of Jewish friends. I'd love to go to Israel. I really like the Israeli people. But again, we have to call it as it is, and it's got nothing to do with a culture or a race. But if that's what it is, right? Just like back in the day, the Italian mob used to have a lot of influence in New York City. It's not nothing against Italians, but it's a certain group of them that had that goal, and they made it happen, and that's the truth, right? Cable Art goes, I'm Christian and I believe in ET, giants, and in ghosts. Yeah. I mean, look, it's becoming more and more common, right? Dojo Reporter goes, can you show us a video or photo that can prove 100% aliens are real? Yes and no, Dojo, and I'll tell you why. Unless a source has come to me and says, a very reliable source, and says, Dave, I give you my dying word, this is legitimate. That's the only time I'll ever say to you guys, I believe my source. Other than that, we can only go off of what we're seeing and what we're hearing and what we're reading. Again, there's a difference between evidence and proof, so it depends. Terry goes, best show on the net. Thank you, Terry. Belly Cam says, I think we're all being abducted. Most of us remember, most haven't a clue. It's very possible. Dreamlink 51 says, COVID, Great Reset aside, test, DNA harvest, DNA database, tagging, virus cover-up for arrest, asteroid Nibiru, aliens. Again, I got to be careful with COVID. We can talk more about that privately. In terms of DNA harvesting, they've been doing that for a long time. And again, I say this because it just pisses me off in the sense of not what you said there, my friend. What I'm saying is that people, if you had said 3-4 years ago that, China's organ harvesting, and again, I want to be clear, this is nothing against the Chinese people. This is against the Chinese regime, the government. If you had said 3-4 years ago they were organ harvesting, people would have laughed at you and they would have said, what are you talking about? All of a sudden, the New York Times reports on it and it makes it real, right? And I do believe it is legitimate, but what I'm saying is that everyone laughed at it. So you need a mainstream media outlet to report it, then you believe it, So again, not to get off topic, but There are many scientists that are trying to find the truth just like you, but they can't share their theories publicly because it'll damage the reputation. And I'll try to share their theories with, thank you, a good commenter. Also, it's also because a lot of these scientists they don't even know the truth. A lot of them are just given money to look the other way, and they don't even know what they're looking away from, right? If you look at, I think the documentary Sugarcoat is something like that. It talks about how scientists were paid millions of dollars in the 70s and 80s and 90s to talk about how artificial sugar was good for you, right? Hydra Hose goes, I own a bottle with the faces of 55 gin inside. It's 200 years old. You can actually see the faces. Cool. That's super cool. If you could take a picture of that, if it shows on camera, that'd be neat to see. Amy. Oh, hey, Amy. How's it going? Amy says, moon may be hollowed out natural body thousands of years ago. There's evidence of ancient folks having a time with no moon. Right, exactly. Angel goes, is there a conspiracy why I like eating Brussels sprouts? Hydra Hose. C. Hensel asks, where's your dog, brother? What's his name? His name is Harley. I have two dogs. One of them is his name's Hercules. He's a Maltese and a poodle. He's really small, so that's kind of like the joke. We've had him for about 10 years. And the other dog is a Cane Corso. He's only 3.5 months old. His name's Harley. Both great dogs, great personalities. Let me see there. Utah goes, hola, brothers. Hey, what's going on? Rue asks, are you going to start streaming regularly? Would love to watch as my new... Yeah, what I'm going to try to do, guys, I'm going to try every Saturday to do these streams. Danielle, Sherlock, me and my husband are here. How's it going? Hope both of you are well. Hope you both are having a great weekend. Jakub asks, why is the stream so much delayed to the chat? No, it's not delayed. It's that I'm literally trying to get to everybody's questions, and there's just so much. So it's me. Mad Mac goes, I'm from the Langley, Virginia area, and I've seen pyramid UFOs here for years. I have pics and all. It makes sense. To have, certain aliens meeting, ones that probably look similar to us, meeting with the CIA in their public headquarters. Very possible. Daniel Sherlock goes, I heard Monolith, I think you're talking about the Utah Monolith, had something to do with taming the earthquakes. I don't know anything about that. The thing is that I can't rule anything out at this point, right? Fear the Porn 2012 goes, Fear the Porn says, we are shadows of the sun, no God individual, a shadow of ourselves, the sun. Look, like I said, I don't rule anything out. Mad Mac goes, drones would continuously fly past the UFOs that slowly moved across. Well, again, they could be not necessarily escorting, but just kind of surveilling, seeing where they're going to be, things like that, kind of guiding these beings as to where they could maybe land their craft or something like this. Daniel Sherlock says, all kinds of portals showing up. Yeah, we're seeing that more and more, especially pictures of them with the higher quality phones, obviously. Jerk Ass 411 says, do you have an opinion on the law of one? I certainly think the law of one is something we can't rule out. Do I have an opinion on it? The problem is I'd like to think it's legit, but I don't know. Guys, just give me 1 second. My throat's killing me. I got to get some water. So I'll be right back in like 30 seconds. I'll get right back to your question, okay? Yeah, give me 1 sec. Oh. All right, cool. All right, sorry about that. Oops. Got some juice. It's a little bit better than water. Okay, so I heard that they stole Tesla's stuff. Utah says, I heard they stole Tesla's stuff because he knew too much. They re-engineered everything and went back and forward in time. And JFK and Trump knew and maybe even used time travel book based on the goings on. So there's an argument based off of some FBI documents that Tesla's from Venus and he himself didn't know it. It's possible. Let me see here. He knew too much. Oh, I certainly think he knew a lot of stuff that didn't get out. Yeah. And if you're talking about JFK and Trump knew, if you're talking about Trump's uncle did have a pretty deep connection with Tesla there. So again, I'm not saying this is a conspiracy. I'm just saying it's very ironic how a lot of these people, the elites, the rich, I'm not saying Trump is one, but or any of them are. I'm just saying you notice how they all know one another, whether their fathers knew them or their cousins. It's all in the same circle, right? It's kind of like if all of us started a bunch of businesses, and I started a construction business, like a business for, let's say, laying brick, and then Ahmad started a business for drywall, right? I would give him contracts, he would give me contracts, all keeping it in the circle. It's that kind of concept, right? um Other than Dues GX, any other sites you recommend? I guess you mean channels. Yeah, I recommend Rumors of Instinct podcast, Find Liaison podcast, Jamila. I also recommend Aliens and Stuff show. They go into a lot of research. You got to really pay attention because they delve into a lot of stuff. Let me see here as well. I also recommend the Truth and Theory podcast. Those guys are great. I apologize if I left some people out, but the Prototype guy says thoughts on Stephen Greer. Yeah, Stephen Greer, I mentioned a couple times before, Prototype guy. Maybe you weren't in the stream. I think he knows a lot. I think he knows enough to the point where he's told he has to be quiet in a lot of regards. Amy Hall says jinn are demons in Islam. I didn't know that. That's good. I didn't know that. That's interesting to know. Assuming that's true, I believe you, Amy. Danny says Majestic 12. Yes, yes. Daniel Sherlock says Dave, don't wash my hat and shoes. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but okay. Sasuke Uchiha says comments won't show if they're too long, guys and gals. Oh, okay. That's why some people. Okay. Angel goes, once I had my whole room flash purple after a severe allergy attack. I felt a windless force, but I had no time to. That's when it usually happens. In a lot of cases. Let me see. Pawan says, can reptilians control / capture or manipulate human souls? Human souls? It depends what you mean by human souls. Can they influence humans, especially if they've been an advanced species that's been around for so long? Let's put it this way, Pawan. If humans can influence other humans, I'm certain that a species that's been around longer than us can influence us for sure, whether it's spiritual or not. Yeah. Let me see. Ahmad, okay. Amy Chin in Arabic is okay. He's replying to Amy. Brian says, my theory is when every year that a person goes missing, the government has actually found them, been set. Damn it. Sorry, hold on. I lost thing in the chat here. This is the YouTube does this every like 10 minutes to me. Very quickly, Christopher goes, I tried to share your channel with a friend. He Googled Gen Z and some Chinese conqueror came up, and he's convinced you're CCP. No, not even close, man. Molly asks, what are your thoughts on the channel Bashar? You mean the YouTube channel Bashar or the being? If you could just be a little more clear. Danielle goes, enough about, yeah, I can't talk about that publicly. Sadly. Danielle, sorry, says we here should all see the bullcrap they're selling. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Brian says, my theory is when every year that a person goes missing, the government has actually found them, but says they haven't. They keep them and use them for experiment. Oh, yeah, that's one of the most basic methods. Moth goes, can you give a shout out to Glasgow Rangers to go for 55? We are the people. If you want me to give a shout out to Glasgow Rangers 4, I can write that down, sure. Let me see here. Belly goes, well, as I thought it appears, Tic Tac was engineered on Earth. The crazy thing is, the US was open testing in 2004. The mind boggles at what else is under wraps. Does this mean Gimbal is also? Oh, I think that's only the tip of the iceberg, Belly. Sasuke says, will you shout me out as Hayden, not Sasuke? And do you like Naruto? Yes to all of those. Yeah. Let me see. Hayden. Okay, so shoot me out as Hayden and Glasgow Rangers 4. Okay, now let's get on with this. Let me see. Langley, VA Pyramid. Oh, Langley, Virginia Pyramid UFOs. Yeah. Let me see here. Utah said something. Um, I can't really say publicly, but we can talk in private. Let me see. Humans are composed of a spirit, soul, and body. My question: if the spirit is from God, then the soul is our personality, or the other way around between spirit? Yeah, yeah. Danielle says enough about blank that I can't. Yeah, sadly, for now, at least publicly, because I think there's certain aspects of that particular, I guess we could say, movement, if you want to call it, that are very true. I think other aspects are disinformation. I could be wrong, but let me see here. Okay, here we go. Those patents. Oh, yeah. So Sazuk says I'll send you those patents. Thank you. Let me see. Danielle goes, Dave, don't wash my hat and shoot. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, this is interesting. Belly asks, do you have an opinion on low watt radiation, Wi-Fi cell radio signal affecting the brain waves of humans, influencing thought and behavior? Yeah, 100%. I think it's possible. I don't think they do it often or they activate it, but I think to say, especially in the last 10 years, to say that they haven't been putting out stuff that could possibly influence our mood would be very unlikely to think, and very, I don't want to say naive, but we got to keep all angles open, right? Hydro Hose Ghost says, I can 100% show the aliens. I have the idea and I'm just a guy. They have the invention to see the ocean if you can imagine it. Yeah, I guess. Steve Ortega says it's power. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Steve. Blank space, thank you. Moff says, what do you think about the egg theory? What specifically, Moff, are you referring to? Someone else goes, Utah says the Chinese, the Russians, the British, and Americans, all the world wants out of this cabal, and the CCP is purely evil and controlling the real Chinese government. It was hijacked like everything else. The thing is, there's layers on layers on layers of intelligence strategies and different things like that, and we'll never really know. I think you're on the right track, Utah, but again, I don't spend much time thinking about it, not because I don't want to, but because there's just so much stuff out there that we can all drive ourselves nuts, looking into this stuff and trying to figure out what's real, what isn't, especially with China, with how closed off they are in a lot of ways, right? Let me see. This Westorp says thank you. No, you're a legend. Dojo says, where can you talk freely? I'd love my friend Patreon, because we do like videos hosted on like BitChute, stuff like that. Also, you get, if you sign up for Patreon, you can get my personal cell number. You could call me anytime, text me, whatever you like. Belly says, do you believe the Saudis are descendants of Sabbatians, Jewish people who adopted Islam, and is the reason Israel and the Saudis work together? Belly, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I want to get back to you on that. I don't know enough about the history of the Saudis. I know quite a bit of Israeli history. Is that what you said? Jewish people who adopted Oh, I don't know enough about the Saudis, so I don't want to say stuff I don't know. Christopher, yeah, it's not, the Patreon's not that much. Brian goes, God is real, that's for sure. No, absolutely, absolutely. Blank space, thank you. I appreciate that. Pawan goes, AI and TVs, phones, and other devices are not reading our lifestyle and or behavior. Do you think that all data is going to reptilians and grays to not only have our identities, but also for some bigger agendas? I don't think the data is going right to reptilians or grays. I think that they extract some of that data from the intelligence agencies that governments have all over the world, whether these intelligence agencies know it or not, right? Because that's how advanced some of them may be. Christopher goes, if you're going to stream, you need some mods. Yeah, I know. I know, Chris. I'm just checking it out for the first time. Brandon says, what is your opinion on the Archons? Well, Brandon, what are your opinions? The Archons, I think ultimately the Archons are there's truth in there. There's truth in there. It's not for me to say if it's a lie or not, honestly, but there's truth in there. That's for sure. Mike says, actually, let me expand on the Archons a little bit. Allegedly, there's a lot of negativity from that, and that seems to tie in with a lot of the reptilian stuff. I think that it's very, very likely. I think that a lot of these beings had different names over time, just like how, For example, I live in Canada. I'm technically a Canadian, but 500 years ago that wasn't a thing, right? So I think that's a lot of part of a lot of the naming and labeling as well. Mike says, did you read my comment about the triangular craft that I saw in Manhattan? Oh, Mike, I'm so sorry. I don't think I did. Henrik says you should do weekly recaps on the live streams where you answer questions based on the topics covered during the week. Yes, whatever you guys want me to do, I'd like to do live streams on Saturdays, and we can do it like that. Mike goes, I posted it on another video that you put out. I will look for it, Mike. I will. Max Schreifel says, I have a beautiful cane corso who needs a stud. 130 pounds. Enjoy your show. The live is... Thank you, Max. Yeah, they're great dogs. CN, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so Ugne Babelute, I hopefully I didn't butcher your name. I apologize. Says or asks, do you know if major countries like USA, Russia, and China work for / are controlled by the same or different alien species? I don't know it for a fact. I would dare to say that a lot of influence that comes down to a micro level and trickles down to us. Economically, financially, you name it, comes from them. Whether it's good advice or bad advice or control that the government has no say over, it's hard to say. I think it's a bit of everything. I think just like with anything in life, there's constant conflicts. It's never just, okay, we made a deal with this race, they're good, and that's it, right? I think that's how it goes. That's what my research tells me and what my gut tells me. You know, that feeling you get when you trust your gut and it ends up being correct. That's what I'm not saying I am right. I'm just saying that's what's been going on with me. Christopher goes, Jesus, man. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Chris. Let me see here. Good commenter goes, what do you know about Monarch, the AI that is supposedly running the internet? Well, here's the thing with that. Good commenter. Monarch is interesting because if we look at, for example, at the Echelon program, that was considered a conspiracy theory until Edward Snowden came out with it. We're going to realize that a lot of what they talked about in Hollywood movies, James Bond films, the Five Eyes and all that, proved to be true with stuff like Echelon. So do I think Monarch is legitimate? I think there is some type of AI that's overseeing things. Again, I'm not trying to fearmonger. I think that ultimately, though, they realize, not the AI, but the government and all that, the military, they realize they need people like us, just everyday working people, because if not, then who would there be to influence? Who would there be to do all these things to further their agenda, good or bad, right? Why is it that you gulp so much in your videos? Yeah, I gulp so much in my videos because what I do, blank space, I'll tell you why, and I apologize for that. What happens is I record 3, 4, 5 episodes straight in the morning. Some of them never make it to going on air, like never come out. Others do. I always have to do the news episodes in the morning. That's why. So my throat is constantly at odds with my brain. So Hydro Hose goes, he was insane. There are plenty of Teslas today, but where are they? Right. Damn it. Okay, well, anyways, I'm going to jump to some people who I haven't gone to yet. Joe Winkler says, hey, Dave, let me just say thanks for everything you've done and keep it up. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Let me see here. Watch film or documentary do you recommend we watch? Unacknowledged, I would say, The Phenomena and the Bob Lazar documentary. Now, the Bob Lazar documentary that's done by Jeremy Corbell, it's not going to be as mind-blowing as other documentaries, but the reason why I'd recommend it to you guys is because you look at the way certain things happen to Mr. Lazar, how he's got no any electronic device on him. He goes to talk with Jeremy Corbell in the forest behind his house, and somehow the FBI still finds out what they spoke of and things like this. That's more of a realistic way of how things work, in the sense of like they raided his work the next day, all that kind of stuff. Everyone around him gets audited by the IRS, that kind of stuff. Sufair says, I'm sure you are too. Brian says, one time I was trying to fall asleep, but then I started hearing some group of people chanting some weird words, then my room started shaking. It's possible. It could be interdimensional. It's something like this. Riot Powder says, dude, how's it going? I'm great, man. How are you? The Reptilian Elk Dynasty says the Reptilians are demons. Hey, look, it's very arguable. Also, Rue FPV says, also knowing to what to focus energy into has really been helpful. I appreciate your wisdom. No problem. I appreciate you for reaching out, because it comes down to the focus of energy too. If we're looking at it spiritually, it's not necessarily what you're focusing on. And I'm not an expert, but it seems as though it's more so the intent that you put towards that there. Thank you for the compliments, Rue. I really appreciate that. Anthony goes, have you looked into La Danta Pyramid? El Mirador in Guatemala. It's bigger than the pyramids in Egypt. There's still a lot being uncovered there. I haven't, but now I will. Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. Let me see here. Utah goes, bro, please get a Telegram and just post all your stuff. You can't be taken down if you prefer other platforms. I want to add you there as well. Utah, I do have Telegram. It's part of the most basic. I think it's like $4 a month Patreon package. You get Telegram, Discord, Facebook group, and you can give me once or twice a month. You can tell me an episode to do that I'll absolutely do for you. Let me see here. Suzuki says there was a patent that proposes technology that enables one to communicate three-dimensionally while remote viewing or a form of astral projection. Well, this is what I mean, right? This is what I mean when I say things are so interconnected. Belly says, LOL, egg theory. The answer is both. It's called evolution. Oli says, did you see the leaked documents of China building a time machine? Oli, my friend, if you go back to the episode from 3 or 4 days back, I cover that. Yeah. Truth seeking, that's what's going on. Lone Stoner says that. Yeah. Journal Yeel, hopefully I pronounced your name right, says, hey, what's going on? Just doing a live stream. How about you? Carpet Weed says the Bible is a psychological book. In many ways, that's definitely one way to view it. Yeah. Utah says our brains are like tubes filled with water and liquids, and we send the signals from the pineal gland. The less power we have, the more they can control us using fluoride. That's one aspect. There's also the aspect of, the electrical impulses that have yet to be explained and things like this. Let me see here. Carpet Weed goes, smoke DMT for content. I've been told that. Blank space. I don't know what to say to that. For those who saw this person, not sure if this is a bot or not, goes, can I send you a free membership to my OnlyFans? Thank you, but no thank you. I'm okay. Thanks. Danny, are the poles shifting? You mean like in Antarctica and stuff? Mike says it's been cool. Have a good weekend. You too, brother. So are the poles shifting? It's been argued that's definitely been argued. Let me see here. Danny says, why is it that we can catch diseases but can't catch improvements like, I caught 2020? Well, exactly. That's part of the suppression of a lot of technology that can help age regression and things like this that they're not hiding from us. But again, when something like COVID happens, assuming it's legit, you see how quickly they come up with a cure. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're telling me they don't have the cure for cancer? Of course they do. But again, it's very basic. Why cure? Even if the cure for cancer were to cost $500,000 or a one-time payment of $1 million, the pharmaceutical companies still make way more charging someone, 10, 20, 30 grand each time they go see, their doctor, what have you, 50 times over, rather than charging them $1 million one time, right? And very quick story, there was a gentleman, and I think there's been more than one instance, but there was a gentleman 5 or 6 years ago who he claimed to have found the cure for cancer in an extract from an apricot seed in Mexico. He then filed patents for it, and then he tried to present his findings to American companies. His company was then bought up by the CIA, and then shortly afterwards, he was found dead in his car. So, if he didn't have anything, clearly, why would he get killed like that? It was ruled a suicide, but if he didn't have anything to like legitimate, why did that happen to him? Again, but now that because a guy like him is dead, who's going to talk about it, right? And that's the terrible thing about death in this world that we live in. Terry goes, Glasgow are the second best team in Scotland after. Okay, yeah, of course, I'll shout them out. R.A. Left says I can barely hear. I'm sorry, my friend. This is the first time I'm trying this out. I'm speaking as loudly as I can, so we're just gonna go with the flow just for today, and then it'll get better over time. Elk Dynasty says it's controlling the weather. Yeah. Elizabeth Ryan says, I have come to the understanding that I understand nothing. That's a great approach to have if you don't realize that, Elizabeth, and I'll tell you why. Or Elizabeth, sorry, because a lot of these aliens that have allegedly come down and spoken to humans have said that in a lot of ways the key is to admit the fact that you know nothing, that we know nothing, but we know, we know nothing, understand nothing, but we understand everything simultaneously, which tends to fall in line with the same principle of science and religion being one in the same, or religion or spirituality and technology being one in the same in a very advanced form, which also has to do with the universal one by Walter Russell, the book or the document that Tesla told Mr. Russell to hide for 1,000 years until humanity's ready, right? Dreamlink 51. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay, I gotcha. I understand. Thank you. Suzuki says, okay, so blank space goes, do you have a Patreon? Yeah, well, I do. It's patreon.com/Generation Z. It's in the link of my, it's in the description of all my videos of the past week, I think. But yeah, it's patreon.com/Generation Z. Very simple. Suzuki says, guy talking about washing the shoes and hat is referring to the Vatican video about Dextro, whatever it's called, and 528 hertz for, Oh yeah, okay, I get it now. Thank you guys. Sorry, like I said, I go through so much information that I forget even some of the stuff some of my own examples. Let me see. 16 says, G says, you've got to research about the jinns in Turkey towns. Blackroot goes, as I've gotten older, I get these memories. My family's from Sardinia. I'm constantly contacted by entities. We should chat privately. Okay, so Buckroot, if you want to email me, genzpodcast@gmail.com. Hopefully you're still watching. You're from Sardinia. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to hear you out, my friend. The Lone Stoner goes, maybe Seth Rogen looks like. I get that a lot. Let me see here. Blank space. Are you he was okay, now let's head back more to the new ones. Oh, sorry, blank space. No disrespect. Sorry, I saw, just because I didn't know if you had put something in the chat earlier or not. I'm very sorry. My Instagram is Generation Z Podcast. No spaces, no capitals, nothing. Cameron goes, we've been working with ET since the Roswell crash, because after that our technology advanced very quick. Right. Again, maybe you weren't here at the beginning when I talked about General Philip Corso, who said, he goes, everything from fiber optics to Kevlar, which at the time nobody knew what Kevlar even was, but now we do, right? He said has been reverse engineered at the most molecular level from the Roswell materials. And he goes, how do I know? I was there. The Lone Stoner goes, THC extracts cure cancer. I've heard that, yeah. Ryan, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Blank space says, because, okay, is demonic, and as a sexual assault survivor, I ponder this a lot. Well, I'm sorry to hear that you had to go through that, blank space. That's terrible. Again, it's very sad. I wish you nothing but the best, and I apologize for assuming you were a bot. It's just because of the way one of your messages was typed. I'm very sorry. Ugne Babelute says, do you believe that we're living in a simulation? If so, what do you think is behind it? Behind it, I don't know. Do I believe we're living in one? Yes, in a lot of ways. Again, we have to define the word simulation, right? We see a lot of mathematical and geometric patterns in space, in nature, on Earth, and we see that. I think it was the OBDM guys that made a comment earlier in like half an hour ago, saying that, again, it's the fabric, and it's it's maybe not the best word to use, but it's like simulation is, how can I explain it? It's what we would call the spiritual encompassment of everything around us that we believe to be spiritual, but is one in the same with that of science that we have not yet understood, right? Belly says, is the Disclosure Project in play to distract critical thinkers from the New World Agenda's progression and the Great Reset? Is the look, at this point, we have to consider the fact that almost everything could be disinformation at this point. The Great Awakening for beginners with F-Face. So glad I didn't miss. Thank you. The Great Awakening. I appreciate that. And I'm live. Cameron Grows. I'm live streaming. You're live streaming on my TV. Nice. Dojo asks, has any crazy conspiracy theory come true? Well, it depends when you say, like, what do you mean by crazy, right? Because if we look, for example, at, again, I use this example a lot, but Epstein, the Chinese organ harvesting, if you had said that there was a private island where some, lawyers, celebrities would go, and I'm not saying they all did, but, elites go to very sadly sexually assault woman, underage woman and woman of legal age, but without consent, people would have laughed in your face. In my face too. I said this to a relative of mine about a year ago. He laughed at me. Then all of a sudden, because CNN reported it, boom, he had nothing to say after that. And I'm not the kind of guy to say I told you so. But again, if that's what you mean by crazy, then yeah. In terms of like the reptilian stuff, dojo and that kind of stuff, again, that's why we have the show, because we'll never be able to prove it. Like in a full 100% way, unless a reptilian, a gray, what have you, walks right next to me. And I can tell you, I give you guys my word that it's legit, and they come on the show in person. Terry says, I hate to steer people elsewhere because this is the best government tech show, but Alex Collier is the most knowledgeable about the different. Yes, no, Terry, I agree. I'm not trying to hog the limelight by any means. There's certainly people out there that know more than me in a lot of areas. Utah goes, have you seen the statue in the Vatican Hall that has a statue of Jesus, but a lizard head is coming? Yeah, I've seen that. Right, I've seen that. Thank you for answering. No problem. Cameron, hey, Cameron, made it. I think you asked a question. Sorry, I'm going upwards. Let me see here. What Buck Rude says, what do you think about reincarnation? You think you just gain this knowledge from nothing? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. What do I think about reincarnation? I've heard a few different things on that. I think with reincarnation, there's a lot of different aspects to it in terms of the spiritual aspect. I mean, there is a theory that we're being suppressed spiritually so that after we pass away, our souls recycle into another body and we have no choice when technically we should have one. That's one of them. Scorpius Dragon goes, yo, shout me out the next vid. Yeah, no problem, my friend. Brandon Cox says, do you believe we're trapped in a reincarnation system? Well, yeah. Do I believe it? Sadly, I'm like, my gut tells me, like, and based on the research too, there's like a 65% chance that's the case. Again, I could be wrong, but that's what my research so far has shown me. Let me just get this Scorpius Dragon. Okay. I gotta tell you guys, this is I might end it soon. I'm gonna get to all of your questions, or as quickly as much as I can. Claire says, always trust your gut instinct. It's your future's way of talking to you. Right, yeah. Dojo, thank you. I really appreciate that. Pawan goes, I mean, if reptilians can capture or manipulate human soul once it leaves human body, like soul transfer from one body to another, I think they have that technology down packed. Okay, let's see here. Marius Schmidt, thanks for the insight. Keep up the great from New Zealand. Thank you so much, Marius. I really appreciate it. Blank space. Yeah, I know you're 100% right. Again, totally my fault. I'm so sorry. Sorry. Okay. If you want to blank space, if you want to email me or whatever, genzpodcast@gmail.com, if you like. And then we can chat there if you have any more questions or anything. Let me see here. Sam says, what's up, man? What's going on, Sam? How are you? Rue says, thoughts on Nazi anti-gravity tech, Antarctica bases, and secret space program already having people on the moon and Mars? Yes. Well, hold on. I don't want to say absolutely, but underground base on the moon. Yeah, I even would dare to say it's not even underground. I think it's above ground on the dark side of the moon. And I know that whole sentence, the dark side of the moon, has been sensationalized through the media. And sadly, I think that, again, that gives people the whole thing. Like, look at the Transformers films, the big budget movies, right? The Transformers, the dark side of the moon, right? I think, what's that other one, that Apollo film that didn't do so well? With, the aliens and creatures on it. It's all stuff to put it in your face. So then people don't think twice, right? Blank space, but we're good. No worries. Thank you. Thank you for forgiving me. I appreciate that. Let me see here. Ugne says, do you have any info on celebrities who are involved with the cabal? Do you think they chose to worship Satan for success, or they're simply forced to do so and just go with it as time goes by? A bit of both. Again, I said this at the very beginning of the stream, so I have no problem saying it again because a lot of you probably weren't here at the beginning. I don't think just because you become famous or rich in any way, you're suddenly involved in this club. I think that it really comes down to who you know, when you meet them, how much they trust you to let you in on certain things. Do I think that there's like a spiritual sacrifice thing? Yes, and I'll tell you why. I've seen too many video evidence to suggest otherwise. Very weird stuff with some of these celebrities. Not all of them, but some of them. Let's see here. And I do have evidence, by the way, Ugne, on some of that cabal stuff. I'm actually looking into it tonight. Arrow says, do you have any experience dealing with a UFO or anything like that? Yeah, there's always one that comes right outside my apartment here every couple days, usually. It's the same one. I point the laser at it again. I mess with it. Usually, it reacted in the beginning, but not anymore. Let me see here. The WMLG. Have you ever heard of Emery Smith and his show Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia? If so, what do you think of him? I never hear of people speak about him despite his bizarre claims of working in dumps. I don't know, like Emery Smith and those guys at Gaia, I mean no disrespect to them. And a lot of their stuff I think is absolutely accurate, but I think it's part of a whole thing of throwing it in your face so you might not believe it. But I don't know where I stand with that, and I'll tell you why. I'm not trying to talk badly about anybody at Gaia. They have fantastic reporting in a lot of different areas. But the thing with Gaia, though, is that it's almost like they're so out there. How have they not been approached by an intelligence agency that is, feeding them things that are not true? Or maybe they're being approached with the truth, right? Or maybe they're an asset of an intelligence agency or a military agency at the highest level. I don't know. Emery Smith and his show Cosmic, well, I think a lot of what he said, I think he has good intentions. I don't, again, when you get money and with money involved and things like this, it's hard to say. Blank Space goes, I really feel like we're in a sim. Absolutely. Renee Aguilar goes, what sacrifice stuff with the celebrities? I can't speak of that publicly because it delves into something that the media is really censoring and that big tech is censoring. So I'm sorry, Renee, I can't get into that publicly. Rue asks, will we see aliens in our lifetimes? I certainly hope so. My gut tells me more likely yes than no, and the research tells me that I don't think they're going to wait another 70 years. But at the same time, they do a lot. Like in the last 5 years, a lot of people have accepted this possibility, more so than in the last 50, believe it or not. So that could be part of the mainstream media psychological warfare programming, right? The Lone Stoner goes, a person with your mind. Thank you. Hydro Hose goes, I'd love to see some moon gravity. Vacation retirement homes would be a big business. No joke, Hydro, yeah. That's what I mean by commercializing space, having homes on the moon and stuff. I think the rich would love that, which is why. Let me see here. Utah says, have you seen Mars and stars under a telescope? They aren't planets. It's effed up. You can look yourself. Planets are CGI. Stars look like moving energies under a telescope. I've been told by a lot of other people, good friends of mine who firmly believe that things like the moon are just an illusion or something like this. Look, I respect all perspectives because we can't rule any of it out. We really can't. And I'm not saying that as a dodge to answer. I'm just saying that because there's too many things that, we as a collective society 5-10 years ago said, no way. Then all of a sudden it's true. So I can't rule these things out. Right. I'm not like Jesus or, or Allah or God or anyone. It's not for me to say. Let me see here. Utah says the dumbs nowadays are their plan to make hell their self and raise Lucifer and his monsters experiments. Look, when you're doing immoral experiments, things that don't necessarily have a soul, like with, beings that don't necessarily have a soul, so to speak, sort of like the Greys as empty energy vessels. It depends on perception, the way we perceive it, right? Could the word demonic also be something that's been very negatively approached by human society over time? Sure. Primals FN says, can you speak on Stargates, please? Sure. Apparently, there's a Stargate in Iraq, which was the real reason for the Iraq War, not so much the oil. Apparently, there's Stargates all over the planet. Again, there's specific locations, things like that. There's certain locations I can't say publicly because I'm afraid I might get sued. So, Chronic OC says, what do you think about adrenochrome? All I'm going to say is yes, because I can't talk about that publicly. But again, the members only stuff, we'd go into all that. Sam goes, do you think there was a Stargate in Iraq? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Marius goes, I can agree with the Gaia thing being so in your face with fact. How can they pass the info on and not be taken down? Right. That's what I'm saying, right? The WMLG, can we say that the big jumps in technology nowadays are related to reverse engineering? A lot of it. And I think even then it's still drop feeding. So, yeah. Raf says TR3B. Yeah. The TR3B, the most common one seen, the triangle UFO. Yes. JPH Monsler says, greetings from Germany and thanks for your work. No, thank you for watching. Chris goes, yes, this will done at CERN. Yeah, Chris, you're 100%, brother. The Lone Stoner asks, what first got you interested in the UFO alien ETC talk? For the last 10 years, I've always been interested. But the last couple years with the whole thing with conspiracies and all that, in politics too, I got so fed up. I said, you know what? I want to find a place that that puts all this type of information together, politics, technology, spaceships, aliens. I couldn't find one. Not one that really put all this together. So that's why I did it. Let me see here. Hopefully that answers your question, Lone Stoner. Eros goes, do you love? Of course I love you guys. What are you guys saying? Or what are you saying, Eros? Sam goes, you ever dabble in psychedelics? And thanks for the global. No problem at all. Never dabbled in psychedelics, no. But if I were to, I'd probably try shrooms for the first time. Paul Singh goes, we need to move these out of our mind. Paul, respectfully, not sure what you're speaking of, but if you can clarify, absolutely, I'll address your statement or question. Oh, thank you, Ru. I appreciate that. Oli says, do you do this full time? No, but I'm trying. I'm trying to create. So actually, now that I got some of you guys watching, I do want to say what I'm trying to do is the reason for the Patreon is obviously to give you guys content that I can't speak about on here. But at the same time, it's for two things. I'm going to be totally truthful with you. One of them is to pay my bills, to hopefully make a living off this. But the second one is so that I can put all of my effort and energy into researching. I got lucky because of COVID. Like being able to have some time off and all that, which helped me start the show. So in a way, if it wasn't for COVID, technically I might not even have done this. But I'm trying to do this full time. That's the whole goal. I want to do it so that we can have like multiple cameras. I can't afford that right now. Multiple cameras, different angles, and get a whole room, a nice circular table. I want to have you guys come in. I know that you guys live from all over the world, but the goal would be to like literally fly you guys in to have a conversation, come on the show. We do like a live stream with it, a nightly thing, something like that's the goal. Or if you guys can't come in or whatever, then I'll come to you guys or we do something on Zoom or whatever. Lone Stoner, yes, it did that, no problem. Okay, let me see. Cameron Harris, the moon is way closer than what they say because you can only really see good details with the naked eye, and you can't see the moon with your naked eye with really good details at the distance they say. Again, I don't know enough to comment. I wouldn't rule it out. I really wouldn't. Paul goes, desires, anger, attachments, greed, and self-esteem to gain spiritual knowledge. Oh, sorry. Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Again, negative entities, positive energy, it's the same idea. Let me see. Marius says, your thoughts on elite coming to New Zealand and settling with buying land and so on. I've been looking into the land being claimed by new sat imaging and feel this is a movement towards something big or so big. Wherever they go, and when I say they, the elites in general, there's always a plan. They don't just move to places just, because they like it. And even if they move somewhere with no bad intention at first, they always end up messing something up, right? In terms of the alien aspect of New Zealand and stuff like that, I don't know enough about the country of New Zealand to say. I'm trying to learn more actually about it. But let me see. WMLG says, watching from London, UK, sorry, under much love. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Hydro Hose goes, add me, I'll pay my own flight. We're gonna do it, and I'm serious. We'll do it. Brian Garcia says on Twitter, some rich person who had his own private island got exposed of harvesting cuts. cuts. Not sure what you mean, Brian, but it just certainly doesn't surprise me. Sam, thank you so much again. Dreamlink, this is interesting. What's happening now will be over by November. Several scenarios, realities, battle, good versus dark, best case cabal, bad case Vax, super strain crash, worst case prepare food off coast before summer. We're talking about some serious, yeah, that would be cataclysmic, yeah. Let me see here. Utah asks, what's your view on certain rich and powerful people being brought back from the dead in our lifetime to combat Jesus' next coming, or the equivalent like Nazism, even pharaohs being taken out of museums? Okay, the pharaohs thing, I wouldn't rule it out. I honestly wouldn't. You look at a lot of the mummies that have been missing and things like this, and then the museum goes, no, it's still here, but you can't really tell because if there's very limited access, right? The mummies thing is interesting. I think they've experimented on mummies in the past, and I've done episodes on that, right? The next thing is, let me see here, rich and powerful people being brought back from death. Very possible, but I think it would be one of the most best kept secrets out there because it's one of those things like if they come back in another body, they can never admit it was them, right? And even if they did, no one would believe it. Let me see here. Jesus, or to combat Jesus's next coming. I don't know about that part, brother. And I say that because I don't know the Christian Bible well enough. Eros goes, that's fire. Thank you. Awesome. You're fire. Sam goes, you heard of Tartaria before? I think I have. I'm not sure exactly. Could you be more specific? Blanks. Oh, thank you, Blanks Face. I appreciate it. Rue goes, hoping you don't get disappeared like another YouTuber named Secure Team 10 who got super deep into the UFO government cover-up. Let's hope I don't. Guys, look, seriously, I'll tell you right now, and I really mean this. If I ever disappear and I just go ghost for more than about a week, which I'll never even go ghost for more than a day, but let's just give me the week, something's happened. And I'm not trying to worry you guys. I'm just saying that at that point, like I have no problems with people. I have no beefs with people. So if anything happens, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I won't be able to tell you guys afterwards. So Rue FP Heart, Oli Heart, blank. Thank you guys. Thank you. Brian says, what happens if we have smart, intelligent species deep in the water? Honestly, I don't see much changing. If they've been there for this long, I don't see anything dramatically changing. It seems like governments have been able to interact with a lot of them. I would dare to say a lot of humans are down there too, which is another thing, Brian. Thank you for making me think of this as well. There are two people that have been to the deepest parts of the ocean that publicly we know of. One of them is the director, James Cameron. Now, I'm not saying that in a joking way. I'm saying that because they want us to believe that not a military guy, not a spec ops guy, not a guy that's trained for this type of stuff. James Cameron, a director, smart guy though, I'll give him the credit, but a director. You're telling me that a Hollywood director is one of the only two people that went to the deepest part of the ocean? It's not that I refuse to believe that. I don't. Let me see. Cameron, I have very little memory of my childhood till middle of fourth grade. I started remembering things day to day. Right? Yeah, that does make sense. And then your memory slowly comes back. Apparently that's a symptom of an abduction. It's not a bad thing, but it's a symptom of that. Brian Garcia says, "Oh, guts. Okay, the harvesting of the guts and the organs. I'm very careful about what I speak of. I don't want to let anything slip. So that's why I do the Patreon members only stuff. I do mention it. Don't get me wrong. Publicly, I do, but there's certain things I can't get into that for those who already have the members program. It's only like depending on the package, $4 to $8 a month. You'll see how much more I go into it. Have you watched the OA on Netflix? Not sure. Danny, what you're speaking of? My apologies. Hydro Hose says, I buried it in the ground. The pharaoh weeps as I hold his head from the river of not right. Sorry. Renee, hello. Thank you, Renee. I really appreciate that. I certainly hope you won't be disappointed. Joseph Alfaro says, are you scared that something will happen to you? Because I feel like you're going to gain a ton of exposure. Yeah, no, I am. I'm not going to try to act tough. Sometimes I am. Yeah, I get sometimes, very rarely, but anxiety attacks of certain things. I've already gotten some phone calls and stuff like that of blocked numbers. So not scared, but not enough to scare me to stop. I mean, I want to be the proof. If I disappear or something like that, there's your proof, right? Arrow says Secure Team 10 abandoned his channel due to him having legal problems. The government ain't grabbing him. Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I fear. Well, you see, guys, Arrows, thank you for pointing this out. That's why I do the members only stuff, because they have a much more difficult time getting us legally when we talk about certain things. Bellycam goes, wasn't Hillary Clinton linked to that in the wiki email leaks requesting the release? Yes, the release of a mummy. Yeah, I covered that, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Jenny Jinx says, I hope you bounce, hide your IP address. Jenny, I appreciate the concern. Thank you so much. But the problem with that is that, I mean, I do all those necessary precautions, but the technology is so advanced. I mean, it's so sad to say, but if they want me, they got me. Sadly, just like any of us. I mean, there's certain precautions we can take, but when you're at that level of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not maybe millions of years in technological advancement, good luck trying to hide from that. It's so sad to say, but it's true. Let me see here. Let's see. Utah says, I hope the good aliens came out and eventually save us if Trump and all them aren't already being helped. I think there is good aliens that go around helping planets free themselves from enslavement. Right. And I think that's some of the agenda of some of the Nordics. Belly says it was the Gilgamesh email. Yes, exactly. Jesse Galindo asks, how can we stop the Great Reset? By not falling for it, by obtaining the proper knowledge. Not necessarily stop it, but if we can avert it mentally. Joseph goes, you made a video about mushrooms. You said when you take shrooms, you see a different perception. I took DMT and mushrooms. DMT opens up the pineal gland, and I think it's more related to that than mushrooms. Yeah, I've heard that before, absolutely. I've heard certain people saying, like Graham Hancock, talking about how when people take DMT more so than mushrooms, there's certain interdimensional beings that speak to them and say, oh, we're so glad you took this because now you have a deep connection with us and things like that, and this opened your third eye and stuff. I believe it. Barry Goldwater says, familiar with the DARPA N3 program for brain computer interface? Yes, I am, Barry. Yeah, it's kind of like, reminds me a lot of the Terminator aspect, but again, there's much more connections to Hollywood than we think. Paul goes, when you close your eyes, take a deep breath, relax yourself, you'll feel some presence there that is God, and it is in all of us, that oneness. Right. Yeah, definitely that's something that a lot of people subscribe to, and it seems like a lot of aliens that come to Earth tend to tell government officials about the divine one or something like this, right, which tends to add to what you're saying, Paul. Let me see. Eros goes, China just had a successful expedition to the Marianas Trench. Oh, did they? I don't know if I read that, but that's good to know. Thank you. Yuda goes, sorry, I'm going to get to Marius first, then Yuda. Ever since finding out with people interferences with movies, I've been struggling to watch them. Last night, I watched 2067, and man, I laughed or LOL'd so much. Yeah, I get that. Yuda says, when I was a child, I called myself an old man. I used to sleep and wake up in different times, and I was stopped once by a woman who grabbed my arm and said, wow, I feel you have something in you. God, that's happened, actually. Interesting thing, and I'm not trying to get religious, but apparently during the filming of the Passion of the Christ that Mel Gibson directed, there was some random old lady all dressed in black that walked up to the crew on set while they were filming in the middle of mountains in the middle of nowhere. They don't know where this lady came from, and the lady said, you're upsetting him. And then she just walked away and literally disappeared. Some weird things happened on the set as well, like the gentleman who played Jesus. And I'm not trying to say that the Christian religion, by the way, is the answer. Please don't mistake me for that. I'm just saying that it seems like any time a movie that is being filmed that has to do with spirituality of any kind, whether it's the Muslim religion, the Buddhism, Christian, you name it, even paranormal stuff, just basic horror movies, weird stuff happens on set. Apparently, the guy playing Jesus got hit by lightning multiple times, and he was totally fine. Like, it was really weird. Let me see here. Actually, if you guys want to know a quick story before I go on, a friend of my father's, I think, or a relative, I forgot, back in Italy, from my understanding, had a. For those of you who don't know, I'm part Italian. So his my father's relative or friend, his dad passed away. And what happened was he then, after his father passed away, everything was, whatever, what you normally do when someone passes away, you mourn their death and what have you. And then he was 10 or 15 miles away from his house. And in Italy, in the mountains in Italy, it's small pockets of towns, right? And what happened was he saw this cat while he was driving down the road, and it seemed like someone had just left the cat there, like just saying, whoever wants it, take it. And he didn't want to take the cat. But what happened was he then drove back home without the cat. When he got home, 10 to 12 miles away, not kilometers, miles, he got home, the cat was at his front porch. Now, that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that when he went inside, he let the cat in. The first thing the cat did was the cat went to go lie down in the same spot and in the same way that someone lies down in the same spot that his father lied in before he died, that his father's favorite spot was, he was known for having that spot for years. It can't be explained. I mean, the guy's house was 10, 12 miles away. How'd that cat get there? And on top of that, could it be his father's energy? Could it be the father reincarnated as, the cat? I don't know. It's certainly something we can't explain in a lot of ways. And it seems like it's something that the Nordics, the tall whites, tend to understand much more than other alien species. Okay, let's see here. Terry goes, do you live in St. Leonard or in NDG? No, I'm in Toronto, Canada, my friend. Rue, thank you, Rue. I appreciate that. Jenny asks, are you religious? Not necessarily. I was raised Christian. I believe in the value, some of the values that are pushed, just because it's just morally, be nice to people, things like that. But I'm not really religious. I'm spiritual. There's a difference, but Danny, yeah, if I have more stories like that, I'll certainly share it. Sam goes, what is your take on targeted individuals? Do you think they're all monarchs? MK Ultra. Very possible. Very possible. Let me see here. Targeted individuals. I think targeting individuals, Sam, is a lot more covert than doing something so publicly out in the open. Yuda says the Poltergeist filmmaker was a cabal in Hollywood and he raped and killed the girl, but it was said she died on her own and everyone said it was because the Poltergeist film was cursed. Look, certain films have been known to have very negative energies attached to them, and sometimes when energies, good or bad, are so strong, just the thought of that energy being emitted onto someone's consciousness could affect that, so it's possible. Brandon says, do you believe in astral projection? I do. Elizabeth Ryan, why are the phases of the moon different? I don't know, Elizabeth. I wish I could tell you. Apparently it's a machine. It's an artificial planet, which, I mean, would make a lot of sense if you look at some of the evidence to suggest, not prove, but to suggest certain frequencies are being emitted from it. Colton asks, how do you feel about the Texas weather and the energy shutdowns? I'd like to think that not everything is a conspiracy to justify certain things. I think if it's a natural event, it gets exploited down the road. But how do I feel about Texas weather and the energy shutdowns? I got to look into that. I got to get back to you, my friend. I'm sorry. Because I know about it. Don't get me wrong. But the problem is I don't know enough to say, like, this is my view on it. Let me see here. Hydra Hose goes, I had a dream that I couldn't find her, and I hear her and see her on different parallel platforms. She is run. I can't reach her. Okay. That's happened to a lot of people. Let me see here. Eros asks, what are your thoughts on, okay, I got an interesting question by Belly as well, too. What are your thoughts on Earth being like a zoo planet, pretty much a zoo for creatures found all over the universe? That's why we have animals here that look so unworldly. Very possible. I ponder that thought, Eros, a lot, especially I think a lot before I go to sleep. And that's one of the questions constantly, there's the thing about octopuses, and a lot of scientists say they are aliens. Other scientists say they're not. Could it be possible over many thousands of years, certain beings were placed here, certain animals that now we consider to just be, regular animals that you find in a forest or in a jungle or rainforest? Sure. Do you think when Musk said if you can't beat them, join them, that was him nodding to the cabal? Do you think his Neuralink is going to be detrimental to humanity? The problem with Neuralink is that I think it's a fantastic intention, but like anything else in life, it can be exploited. the thing with Musk, and I'll tell you right now, if he knows something on aliens, he knows very little, just because with all the access he has to the live feeds up in space, with all that, there's UFOs coming and going. When he went on Joe Rogan and said he doesn't have any evidence that they're of aliens, I was extremely disappointed. Now, with that being said, Elon Musk is known to stir controversy, to stir the pot, if you know what that means, like to troll people. I know you guys know what that means. Sorry, I said that wrong. But yeah, I mean, he was talking about a year ago. We have to go past the great filter, something like that, where it's a theory about how life is, what's it called? How life, extraterrestrial life, is out there and stuff like that. Terry goes, in your opinion, are the Nordics part of the Federation? Yes, I can say with almost certainty they are. I don't know if they're leaders, but if they're leaders of the Galactic Federation, but they certainly have a large influence. The Nordics seem to be what to the Galactic Federation what the United States is to the United Nations. They're not in charge, but realistically, they know what's like. They have the most pull, if that makes sense. That's what I get from my research. Cristiano says, okay, hold on. Cristiano says, do you think we're living in a simulation? Thank you so much. Greetings from Brazil. Greetings, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, let me see. I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, Cristiano. I apologize, only because I think I brought it up like 3 or 4 times in the last 2 hours. I think we are, but again, we have to define simulation. Let me see. Utah says, when airplanes take off, they go up and then straight for a long time. They should be dipping and rising because of the curvature of the Earth, but they down just up and then down when they get there. I'm doing an episode on that. It's funny you bring that up. So I'll be doing an episode on something along those lines. So stay tuned for that. It'll be public. I've been on an airplane and stuff like that. I think that like the Janet Airlines airplanes, very interesting. And again, that'll be discussed down the road, so I don't want to jump into that. Barry says, thoughts on Blink 182 dude working with CIA for controlled disclosure? Yeah, this is my opinion. Yes, absolutely. Joseph, thank you, Joseph. Let me see. Sam says Tartaria mud flood. The mud flood theory, a very interesting theory about true history and advanced technology, architecture being up and destroyed. Being covered up and destroyed. Think you'd find it? Yes, absolutely. I'm working on that too. I'm working on a lot of stuff. Let me see here. Yeah, I know exactly. I say I'm going to end the stream and then I go for an additional 2 hours. Yeah, exactly. Arrow says, do you think sacred geometry should be taught in school? Do I think I think if we can understand certain aspects of it, then yeah. But again, the whole this has to do with politics and aliens and all that. The whole school system, in my opinion, has to be reformed. I know a lot of you watching right now are parents and things like that. You guys know more than I do. I don't have children. So, yeah, absolutely. Let me see. Prince Philip was put in hospital, and months ago the news released a thing saying the Queen is dead and then took it down. They had a planned sentence for it. I think they're already dead at this point. It's possible they could be revived through some way, but yeah. What's your take on the Nilotic Meridian, given what is built on it? Giza Pyramids, Great Zimbabwe, and Adams Calendar in South Africa. I don't know enough about it to comment. This is something else that I'm currently doing research on the Nilotic Meridian. I don't want to give, it's not that I don't want to answer your question. I promise you I'll follow up, but I don't want to give a comment on something I haven't fully, at least personally said, okay, I know enough to say. James asks, thoughts on giants and the Smithsonian? Giants and the Smithsonian? I think giants existed at one point. I don't know if they were human. Smithsonian, is there something, a speculation of something going on there, or you're just saying like where they're hidden, or but giants in general, I think at one point there were beings that were much larger physically. Let me see. Brandon says, I've astral projected in the past and encountered beings I recognized as the Archons, like I had some sort of higher knowledge that I couldn't explain. Yeah, makes sense. I totally believe that. It's almost like words cannot explain certain things, and I've had that happen to me before too, which is why sometimes I have difficulty putting some things into proper phrasing for the show. Randy goes, "This is a cool show." Thank you, Randy. No, you're the reason. You guys are the reason why. So thank you. School breeds economic slaves. Sadly, I mean, I very much agree. Randy goes, "There's nothing wrong with us teaching our own kids." I think that's exactly what they don't want. It's not for me to say how kids should be taught, but let me see here. 16 Sezgi says, "What do you think about a possible fake alien attack?" Yeah, if humans, the government feels, major world governments feel that they have enough technology that they've gotten from the aliens to stage a fake invasion, as long as the aliens don't get involved, they'll do that to justify militarizing space or commercializing it. Now, I say militarizing carefully because when we look at the email from Dr. Edgar Mitchell, I think the fifth man to walk on the moon, something like this, and to John Podesta, he talks about how this is part of the WikiLeaks emails, which ironically the media doesn't bring up. He talks about how Dr. Edgar Mitchell says something along the lines of, our I think he said, our friendly EBEs want to share, EBE being extraterrestrial biological entity, want to share 0-point energy technology with us. However, they will not tolerate any militarization in space. So that's where I stand with that. Marius goes, Elon Musk. Well, exactly. The other thing too is, I don't think, if they militarize space soon, I'll be very surprised. I don't think these other beings will let them do that. Because I think if these other beings allowed it, they would have done it by now. They don't, because the world governments don't care if people panic or not in certain ways. They care more about profit, right? So if they quickly speed it up and they say, look, there's not necessarily aliens, but there's tech, we're going to put hotels on the moon and charge a boatload. Again, it's all money that we give meaning to, right? Marius goes, Elon Musk knows exactly what's going on and is being asked nicely to keep on track and lead people on a path with slow movements forward. To make rockets land is one, but not use fuels. And yes, Marius, you said that perfectly, my friend. I think that's exactly what's happening here. Not because I want him to know, but because you can't get that close with NASA and not, Randy goes, no offense, you look like Seth Rowe. I get that all the time, brother. It's none taken. Hydro goes, make it look like an alien probe and rover hits the Earth. Yep. Rangers 55, Project Bluebeam. Yep. James goes, giant found in Thailand, assumed Nordics in 2017. Smithsonian admitted to destroying suspected giant bones, supposedly to keep the theory of evolution in line. 1 trillion%. This goes back to the disk theory, distributive idea suppression complex. Absolutely. Eros goes, this is actually a good example. If they do a fake alien invasion, just picture Spider-Man Far From Home, the movie, the whole hologram with the drones. That's how it'll be done. I would even dare to say it would be more advanced than that. Drones of a much smaller type. You know what? Yeah. Let me see. Lucas, thank you so much. Randy, I mean that in the best way possible. James, thank you so much, man. Randy, yeah, the interdimensional stuff is intense. Let me see. Paul goes, Dave, I recorded this. Let me see. This video with my telescope. Not sure if it's a UFO or star, but so many colors to it. How do I send it? Gen Z podcast at gmail.com. Paul, I'll put it in the chat before I leave. If anyone wants to reach out to me. Cosmic, thank you. Randy, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, my friend. So sorry. Yuda, the truth is in the Georgia stone crop record and Stonehenge's burial sites for gems, maybe tech and gold planted underground, so they knew where to look by leaving crop circles and stone transmitters. Hold your thought on that. You'll see next week what's coming out regarding that. Cameron says, in high school, I went a whole day of school and everything, but it felt like it was in a different dimension. Then I woke up from the night's sleep, and it was completely different from normal. That's happened to me. Yeah. The Lone Stoner says, we only see a small part of the light spectrum. Absolutely. Absolutely. Aerosco told you live stream. Yeah, no, I'm going to do this every Saturday. I'm going to put my email in the link now, guys. It's been almost 3 hours. It's been fantastic. If anyone has any questions, I'll stay on for like another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to have to call it. Randy, absolutely. Something the Lone Stoner says, something in the infrared spectrum could be right in front of you. You won't see it. That's my email, guys, by the way. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, of course. There's so many things in the frequential range we don't see. Rue says NASA equals never a straight end. Right? Yeah, because they show up to court and all of their documents that are classified end up missing. So 100%. I just have to laugh at all the NASA broadcasts of this Perseverance BS. Nothing but a show. Even the format is a cut and paste of MSM broadcast. It's definitely a very valid argument to make. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for all those thanking you. I think it's because of you guys, literally. So thank you. Orlando. I guess yeah, I've never done a live stream before. Maybe that's why you're surprised. Yuta says the NASA symbol has a snake's tongue slithering across it. Marius, thank you. Lone Stoner, thank you. Sam, thank you so much. Randy says, anyone here catch Gina Marie Colvin Hill stuff? Not sure. No, I haven't. Yeah, we're gonna do this every Saturday. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Let me see here. Try to do a swap cast with another podcast. I'm sure plenty smaller ones are looking to fill up spot. Okay, hold on. So to answer, and also Orn, thank you so much. CAE, I'm going to tell you guys honestly, I'd love to get on the Tim Pool podcast, not because of his politics, but because he's one of the few guys out there that's actually open to the idea of the Nordic aliens. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tim Pool. Some people say because, I wear the hat, I look like whatever. But that's eventually the goal. Let me see here. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? Let me see. Caramel, chocolate caramel, I think. Yeah. Yuta, yeah, you're right about the police thing. Hello, Shay. I don't know if you just tuned in from Montreal, but we're going to have to end the stream soon, sadly. Key Brooklyn light codes. Yeah, I'm looking into that. Yeah. The loans. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. About Joe Rogan. JPH Monster. Thank you. Brian Garcia Saturday Gang. Then. Yeah. Can I Dojo asks, can you recommend a good YouTube channel with the same idea as yours? I want to, but I can't. Like, there's nothing else. I'm not saying I'm the only one. I'm just saying I don't know, like, at the moment. I promise I'll give you guys, I'll get back to you guys. Utku, hopefully I didn't mispronounce your name. Thank you. Dojo, same content with the same. Yeah, sorry, Dojo. I don't know at the moment. Danny, look into Dr. Sebi. Thank you, I will. Alexis Rodriguez, serious question. You seen the Justice League trailer? The Zack Snyder version? Yeah, looks great. I'm a big comic book guy. Rue says you're gonna post the stream so I can share it. Yeah, I don't see why not. Watch Travelers on Netflix. I will. Randy says everyone's channel is unique. Absolutely. Belly says I have an abduction story. I think you'd find it interesting. Yeah, if you go to the where I put my email, you can email me. I don't know if I have to pin that or not. I'll put it in again. Skinwalker Ranch. Let me see here. Put this here for you guys because there's quite a few of you guys that want. There we go. Okay, so that message is pinned. Utah, absolutely. Rangers, what happened to Jordan Sather? Jordan Sather. I'm having a brain fart right now. Jordan Sather, I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. But yeah, if anyone else has any more questions, please write them down if they mean that much to you, and I promise I will address them on Saturday. So guys, thank you so much. I didn't expect to get this kind of response. Seriously. Arthur asked, what is your Patreon? It's patreon.com, the way that you just spelled it there, /Generation Z. I'll put that up too. I'm not going to pin it because I'm more about communicating with you guys rather than the whole money side of it. For me, it's just I want to get to speak with you guys directly. That's what matters to me the most. Let me see here. Randy, oh, no problem. Thank you for coming on. Hydro says, let me see. I see the internet as an attack on the mind. I feel it is all connected sure, very possible. Because think about it, like every time you open your phone, you kind of, some people without even knowing it, they feel that anxiety, right? So, Anna asks, do I channel? Not really, because because of the show, I don't have that much time. Maybe every few weeks I try to put an hour aside to channel, and unfortunately it doesn't really end up happening. You need to really, from what I understand, you really need to focus. Thank you, Doja, I appreciate that. Randy says, also check out Deborah Taveras, stopthecrime.net. I trust what Randy's saying, and please, absolutely. Let me put very quickly, because someone else also asked. This is the Patreon. Yeah, there we go. This is the best. Jenny says this is the best community. Exactly, guys. We can talk about anything. And if you think this is good, and I'm not even trying to be a salesman here, but if you think this is good, you should see what we're doing on Patreon, because then it's really freely open. So yeah, that's it. Randy, been looking into this stuff for 5 years. Yeah, Randy, I know it's hard. It's hard. I know. Anyways, guys, I gotta rest my voice for tomorrow morning. I think you guys are really gonna like tomorrow's episode. And thank you, Darkest Lord, Lone Stoner, all of you guys. Seriously, all of you guys. Thank you a trillion times over. Nina, thank you again. Anyways, I'm gonna put the stream up, but I gotta go. So thanks, guys, for taking your time out of your Saturday to watch. And we'll catch you guys. We'll catch you guys next week or tomorrow, whenever you come back on the channel. So be very safe out there. Be vigilant. Remember, you got to question everything. Trust but verify. Right. So thank you. Take care, guys.